Welcome in.
Happy Wednesday morning.
Bill Gunter, Jen Jenson, Patrick Perret will be along shortly as we are off and running here. January 12th. Hope you are up and doing well. Plenty to get into this morning as we get you through the hump day version. Jen, it really is actually kind of hard to believe that we're coming close this coming Saturday to the middle of January. I feel like we're already speeding right along through the month of it's kind of a little surreal. Like I feel like it's just last night that we were celebrating the step into 2022, and this coming Saturday will be kind of the midway point. Hopefully everybody will be safe this weekend. I believe what we're projecting ice now is that I saw Daniel Bonds yesterday on Twitter a lot, keeping me updated on the weather for this coming weekend. So if you're out and about this coming weekend, trying to stay warm, trying to stay safe, it doesn't look like it's going to be a very pleasant weekend of weather here in the Midlands, but it'll be the middle of January already. Before you know it, Daytona, then you'll have the Masters, then we'll be in the July 4th weekend, and college football season will be right back, and we'll be off and ready to go.
Look at you bringing in Daytona references right off the bat.
When I'm aware that when you're the reigning NASCAR champion, you know exactly what's going on. There you go. A little bitterness there. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning if you're hopping on the Buford Lending live stream. I believe I fixed that echo there that some of you were talking about. Just have to mute my mic on the computer. That should get that fixed. But you can join us. Cool Care Heating and Air text line 803-404-6100. Or again, you can jump on with everybody. A bunch of people already up. Anthony, David, Mr. Burns, I guess 21. Some of you use the dig names. Lee, Decor, Michael, everybody. DC already up and in on the Buford Lending live stream that you can be a part of this morning. Join in the conversation there. Plenty that we'll discuss today. Again, we'll kind of continue to take our steps away from the 2021 college football season. No major news yesterday, but there were some newsy things. Alabama having 7 players hop into the transfer portal, 2 for Georgia. I don't know what to take away from that and what it means big picture for college football. We haven't seen attrition like that. You haven't seen it from Alabama during the Nick Saban era. One of them, Jalil Billingsley, the preseason All-American tight end there for the Tide, who actually ended up with a pretty decent season. Is kind of the biggest name to hop into the transfer portal in regards to Alabama. He had 35 receptions, 543 yards, and 6 touchdowns in his 2 previous seasons. I apologize. He was a preseason All-SEC selection, but he kind of lost his starting job towards the end of the year. But still kind of interesting to see attrition from Alabama. And do you think that helps or gives college football a little bit of parity now? We saw locally, a ton of attrition from Clemson, both during the season and then postseason as players left the transfer portal. And to see it from Alabama again, some of the other players, people that probably you or I, unless you really follow recruiting, had not really heard of. Drew Sanders, a big-time linebacker in the recruiting world, but just 24 tackles, 1 sack, and 4 quarterback hurries. You had a couple other ones, an offensive line, a reserve offensive lineman, Tommy Brown. No other major names necessarily. Georgia had 2, a defensive back, Amir Speed, who only started 3 games, and a wide receiver, Jalen Johnson, who had 3 receptions. So not really players that were contributing a lot, but it was guys that were recruited. I remember Amir Speed was a big-time defensive back out of I believe the Jacksonville area. Does it help? Does this help create a little bit more parity across college football with players now at 2 schools such as Alabama and Georgia, 2 schools that have completely separated from the rest of the college football world? Does it help that they will branch out and go to other universities, or does it even matter? Does it even matter? So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll also get into the way too early preseason top 25s. When we left you yesterday morning, when we wrapped up our program, we had just the ESPN preseason, way too early preseason top 25, to which South Carolina made an appearance at 25. Well, as the day went on, they would pop up Dennis Dodd, still trying to earn favor from Shane Beamer and from probably South Carolina fans after his Mayo Bowl tweet. But Dennis Dodd and CBS putting South Carolina in at number 22 yesterday. It raises the question for me now, what do your expectations for South Carolina football really become in 2022? You've got the defending national champions in your own division, and they're going to reload, obviously, the way Kirby Smart has been able to recruit and build that program into a program that I think it's fair to kind of say, hey, they're very possible. Um, it's very possible they're right there with Alabama. They got to win more championships, obviously, but Alabama, the way they've recruited, what they've done with building around defense, how they've built that thing up. We'll see what they do with their quarterback. Stetson Bennett finally out of eligibility, we believe. Who knows? At this point, he may do what Patrick has suggested and just suggest he's coming back and see if the NCAA steps in and stops him. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot on the NCAA's part. But you've got Georgia if you're South Carolina. You got Georgia in your own division. So I would say, as we sit here now, suggesting that South Carolina is going to win the East in 2022 is probably unrealistic. But how much do you bump those win totals up? Somebody yesterday on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line made a good point. It's hard to really envision with what South Carolina did in 2021 and what the schedule kind of looks like in 2022. It's really kind of hard to envision that Vegas is going to throw out an over-under of more than 6.5 victories for the win total in 2022. And that would be probably pretty low. I don't think fans would be happy with 6-6. So we'll get into a little bit of your expectations as we sit here at 6:10 a.m. on January the 12th. We'll also talk a little NFL. Another job opening last night, Joe Judge being relieved of his duties as the New York Giants head football coach, and probably a good thing. Joe Judge had said some really weird things over the last few weeks. I think the one that caught everybody's attention is that players from other organizations who had been with the Giants, who are now making more money with their new organizations, said that they wanted to come back and play for Joe Judge. They'd take a pay cut and come back and play for Joe Judge. So he's relieved of his duties. 7 NFL openings now out there in the NFL world. And we'll get Patrick Perret's take. We'll let our NFL guru break it down for you, how he ranks those 7 jobs right now in terms of attractiveness, in terms of ability to get back to being either a playoff team or a Super Bowl contender, and which one is the quickest way. So we'll get our own NFL guru, Patrick Perret's opinion and take on that as well. And then the other thing we'll get into today, last night, South Carolina, a 66-46 loser to Tennessee. The Gamecocks competitive in the first half. They turned it into the kind of game they would need to. It was a low-scoring game. It was 27-24 in the final seconds of the first half, and Tennessee would bury a contested three-pointer at the buzzer to make it 30-24 at halftime, and South Carolina never recovered. They're outscored 36-22 in the second half. Tennessee cruises along to a 66-46 victory in a game that South Carolina doesn't shoot the ball particularly well. 17 of 49 from the field, just 32%. For the game, there were 6 of 19 from three-point range, just 29%, and 6 of 17 from the line. And there was a lot of things to take from that. Tennessee had shot 12 free throws. 12 free throws before South Carolina even attempted one in the first half. In the first half, South Carolina had 10 team fouls. I think this was with about 8 minutes to go. South Carolina had 10 team fouls to Tennessee's 1. And then the refs went on a little bit of a comeback tour there, calling some fouls on Tennessee and getting the Gamecocks to the line a little bit. But Tennessee actually for the game ends up shooting 25, 18 of which again came in the first half. South Carolina for the game shoots just 17 free throws, 11 of those coming in the second half. But Tennessee kind of cruises along. South Carolina has problems with extremely athletic teams. And we saw that against Auburn last week. You saw it last night. I do think South Carolina can win and get the SEC schedule, the SEC record back to 500 this weekend. I kind of actually would pick them to beat the Florida Gators. Florida's good. I've watched a good bit of basketball here of late. And while I think Florida's not a bad team, I don't think they're a world beater. And it's actually a team that South Carolina at Colonial Life Arena at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon matches up pretty well with. But we'll get into that game because, again, or get into last night's game because, again, South Carolina, a 66-46 loser on the road to 22nd ranked Tennessee in a game that was pretty ugly, to be quite honest. That was the game that South Carolina wanted to create. That was the kind of game that South Carolina wanted from the Volunteers. Unfortunately, South Carolina has zero firepower offensively. Tennessee holding teams to just 61 points per game on the season. And last night they had zero problem with the Gamecocks again, just forcing South Carolina into a poor shooting night, 17 of 49. The Gamecocks also, this is the other big problem when we talk about South Carolina's basketball team at this point. You've gotten some contributions from the newcomers. Last night, James Reese really kind of keeping you in the game, 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting last night. But Jermaine Cousinard and Keyshawn Bryant, two guys that you thought going into the season would be the backbone of this program, guys who had been around, guys who understood Frank Martin, guys who had been through last year's difficult COVID year and that we've seen play really well at times. Last night, Jermaine Cousinard, 16 minutes of action, scores 1 point, has 4 turnovers, 3 assists, only takes 2 shots from the field, one of which was a three-pointer. Kind of strange that Jermaine Cousinard, and I know there was the article in the state paper recently about the trials and the tribulations he's been through, dealing with some family things, dealing with some issues with his mother, losing a best friend last year. But Jermaine Cousinard is just a shell of himself right now. And he started last night, but again, just 16 minutes played in that ball game. And then you've got Keyshawn Bryant, who has been up and down, suspended for the first 5 games, kind of seems a little erratic this year. I think he's trying to find his role on the team. He also plays 16 minutes last night, but has 5 points, picks up 4 fouls, and has 4 turnovers. You get a combined 6 points from the guys that going into the season we would have said are the backbone of your team. They play a combined 32 minutes last night, and they shoot a combined 2 of 8. And also they have 8 turnovers. That I'm not sure how to or what to make of these two guys that, again, at least going into the season, I think we all looked at and said, hey, these are players that should be able to significantly help Frank Martin's team here in 2022, 2021, 2022. But the bottom line, South Carolina loses to a better team last night. Tennessee rolls over them by 20, but the Gamecocks still, they're in the thick of things. 10 wins on the season, 5 losses, 1-2 in conference play. But we'll see how they do. This will be another really, really big game on Saturday when you get Florida coming to town and a chance to pick up another quality victory to kind of stay in the hunt there when we talk about conference and any kind of postseason aspirations. You look at the SEC, and there's a reason that most people believe the SEC is potentially the best team in or the best conference in college basketball. Certainly the Big 12 would make another case for what they've done with Baylor, with Kansas. Baylor goes down last night, by the way, to Texas Tech, who Texas Tech's a really good team. They lost Chris Beard in the offseason to Texas, but he really left some quality players there. And Texas Tech goes into Baylor last night and knocks off the Bears to end everybody. Nobody undefeated anymore. Southern Cal also lost on the road at Stanford yesterday afternoon. So no undefeated teams left in college basketball. But South Carolina last night, a 66-46 loser on the road in Tennessee. We'll get into that. So plenty to get into this morning. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us if you'd like to do so this morning. Cool Care Heating and Air text line or on the Love Chevy phone lines is how you can do so. Again, you can always hop up on the Buford Lending live stream and weigh in with any little fact that you might want to. We get one fun fact. Since Matt Rule's been head coach, the Carolina Panthers are 0-6 to all of the fired coaches in this cycle. That coming from, again, I'm just going to call you Mr. Burns there, but coming from him on the on the Buford Lending live stream. So if you want to join us that way, you can certainly do that this morning. Again, Patrick Perret will be along here shortly as he comes and joins us, and we'll get his NFL take. The NFL weekend, the playoffs, not far away. Should be a lot of fun there. I'm actually pretty excited about that Buffalo-New England game because of weather, snow, really cold up there. I think the high on Saturday, not just Saturday night, but the high on Saturday, 20 degrees up there in Buffalo for the Bills and the Patriots. They're expecting snow. That should be a really fun one as we all gather around our television, stay warm, and watch some NFL playoffs this weekend. So a lot to get into this morning as we roll along. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, staying warm. That's actually pretty important, especially when you get up in the little car. Thermometer reads 27 degrees. Thankfully, the Tahoe this morning, ready to go, ready to get me down here. I have all the faith in the world in Chevrolet, and that's why anytime I need anything done for me, I go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can go visit them for yourself. I can tell you all day about the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands. I can tell you all about the $1,000 low price guarantee and how you're going to get the best deal possible. But I continue to tell you, and what is most important is the incredible sales staff, the customer service provided from the moment you come onto the lot to the moment you drive off. Purchasing a car these days, it's a pretty big deal. You never know how long a car or vehicle is going to last, but with Love Chevrolet, they make sure to answer all of your questions, because when you're making an important purchase in life, you want to be certain. You want to be confident. And that's why the folks at Love Chevrolet stand out above the rest, is that incredible sales staff. So knowledgeable. They've been in business for over 60 years, and many of those sales people that are out there, the great salespeople, have been with Love Chevrolet for over 20 years. Because of their knowledge, because of the way they treat their customers, people continue to go back each and every day. You need to be one of those people. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can check them out on the web as well, lovechevy.com. But again, the largest selection, the best deal possible with the $1,000 low price guarantee, and that incredible sales staff. So friendly, so nice to you, not going to harass you, going to make sure you're confident with your next big purchase, whether it's a certified pre-owned vehicle or a brand new Love Chevrolet Tahoe, Silverado, or one of the other great lines of vehicles. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
There we go. Now let's see, the mic's unmuted. If we ever get that echo, I told you I got to cut that mic off. So yeah, it's all right. No problem. Just glad to have you. You don't have to change your name. I just was confused. Wasn't sure how to say it, but I'll go Cyburn. Is that Cyburn? Although I like Mr. Burns better. I makes me happier. So, but I hope everybody's doing good this morning. There's no way Stetson Bennett really has another year of college football, is there? Just absolutely no way Stetson Bennett has another year. I do know he's only played. I mean, I guess he probably does actually, because he redshirted a year, and 2020 didn't count against him. He's listed as a senior on ESPN, but I believe you're right. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that Stetson Bennett would have one more year of eligibility. All right, there we go. Got the tweet out. Yeah, Craig. It's crazy. Bryant and Cousinard. Cousinard just doesn't look good. Just doesn't even. I've never seen a guy regress the way he has. And I don't think that's because of Frank. I don't know if Cousinard's heart is in basketball anymore. I think just too much has happened to him personally. I don't know. He's
803-404-6100, how you can join myself, Jen Jenson, this morning. Patrick Perret will be along here shortly, and we'll get plenty of hot NFL takes from him. You can always join us. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game on YouTube, and you can subscribe and join our live stream as well. Craig weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream and says, I feel like Keyshawn Bryant has regressed. And then goes on to say he and Cousinard should have 25 points every game. Yeah, there's no question. South Carolina last night, a 66-46 loser to Tennessee in Knoxville, a game in which they were down by just 6 at half, but get outscored 36-22 in the second half as Tennessee got things going and pulled away there. They really shot the ball better in the second half. Tennessee did. They were 9 of 22 in the first half and then 15 of 33 in the second half. The Vols were. South Carolina's defense just wore down and not able to kind of contain the Volunteers last night. Santiago Vescovi, 14 points for the Vols to go along with 5 assists. The Vols really didn't play all that well. It's not like Tennessee came out and gave it their A game. South Carolina just no offensive firepower. And again, the stats that are most concerning to me, to which Craig is pointing out on the Buford Lending live stream, is in fact that South Carolina last night, Jermaine Cousinard and Keyshawn Bryant, the kind of the backbone of your program, or what you would expect to be the backbone there, guys who've been around for quite some time, only combined for 6 points last night, and 5 of those coming from Keyshawn Bryant. You need more. Cousinard right now, again, I don't want to make excuses for him. You have seen, I'm sure, if you've seen the state article on him and everything he's been through. But right now, he just looks unfortunately lost. And last night, he takes just 2 shots in the game. Eric Stevenson and James Reese, the transfers that entered the program, combined for 21 shots. It was not Stevenson's best night shooting, 2 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3-point range. And they need him to be effective to have some kind of offensive firepower. But they get nothing from Jermaine Couisnard last night. Just 2 shots in the game, shoots 2 free throws, had 3 assists, scores just 1 point, but had 4 turnovers as well. And that's something that you simply cannot have from Couisnard, whether he's playing the point guard or whether he's playing off the ball. You need Couisnard to be more effective and more involved in the offense. And, I don't want to make excuses for him, but certainly that's a guy that you need more from. And then Keyshawn Bryant last night gets in foul trouble early on, picks up a bad foul, probably about 90 feet away from the basket, trying to go for a steal. He ends up on the bench there in the first half and finishes the game with just 16 minutes played, scores 5 points. Keyshawn Bryant also with 4 turnovers. Your 2 most experienced players last night combined for 8 of your 23 turnovers, and that's one of the biggest problems for South Carolina right now. When you play a team, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky will be that way. Alabama, LSU will be that way. Play teams that are flat better than you and more athletic. You've got to take care of the basketball. Jacoby Wright is coming along at the point guard position, but he's not really ready to handle some of the pressure that he saw last night. 22 minutes from Wright. He scored 7 points, had 3 assists and 2 turnovers. So definite improvement from him, but you would like to see more from Keyshawn Bryant and Jermaine Couisnard, who again last night combined for just 6 points and 8 turnovers. 803-404-6100. How you can join us this morning. I was talking about some of those college football way too early preseason top 25s. Dennis Dodd putting his out with CBSSports.com. And, maybe you can make the case that Dennis Dodd looking for a little bit of good favor with Shane Beamer and South Carolina, given what happened there right after the Duke's Mayo Bowl when Dodd put out his tweet about Shane Beamer having mayonnaise poured on him, and then Shane Beamer responding very quickly, obviously. Shane Beamer putting out very quickly that Dennis Dodd needed to find some joy in his life and has since now had T-shirts that made that read, "Find some joy." But Dennis Dodd putting out a way too early top 25. No real surprise with the early top 3. This is what you're going to get throughout all the polls. Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. Dodd does think very highly of Oklahoma. He says the Brent Venables era begins. The Sooners will play much better defense. They must considering their new coach. And then he points out Dylan Gabriel is a plug-and-play quarterback. Expect more of the same from the Sooners with an added defensive edge. It goes on to say the Big 12 battle with Baylor will be fascinating. Dodd goes on to have Texas A&M, Baylor, Notre Dame, LSU. He has Clemson at number 9. He says he does not put them in the playoff hunt just yet. Too much uncertainty at quarterback. So right now, Dennis Dodd with the way too early preseason top 25. He's got Clemson at 9. He has Arkansas at 10. Then 11 through 15, Michigan, Miami, Utah, Southern Cal, first year under Lincoln Riley. And he's got Tennessee. That was the surprising one left off of Mark Schlabach's ESPN way too early top 25 is not having Tennessee in there yesterday. Tennessee at 15. Texas popping up in way too early top 25s is insane to me. They'll have to replace, or they're going to bring in Quinn Ewers, who was a 5-star quarterback, but how quickly can he transition to Austin? How quickly can he make up for what Texas lacks? But he's got Texas at 16. Then you've got coming along after that on Dennis Dodd's way too early top 25, Wake Forest, Oregon, Wisconsin, Michigan State. 21 through 25, BYU, South Carolina, Cincinnati, Penn State, and Oklahoma State round out the top 25. So 803-404-6100. What does your expectation for South Carolina begin? There's a lot of excitement around the program, again, because of who is in their division. When you look at Georgia's going to be expected. Stetson Bennett, by the way, turns out does have another year of eligibility. The COVID year throws me off because I just forget that everybody has this free COVID year and that somehow, some way, we all just get these guys get these free COVID years. So Stetson Bennett back for year 17 there in Athens. You can't expect South Carolina to leapfrog. That's unrealistic when you talk about them jumping over Georgia. We saw South Carolina just get ripped by Tennessee, and I don't know if you necessarily expect South Carolina to just magically be competitive with Tennessee next year. Kentucky, South Carolina's lost what, 7 of the last 8 to Kentucky, and Mark Stoops seems to have that thing kind of rolling up there. It's kind of interesting where you have this much better than expected season for South Carolina, and you finish 7-6. What is the expected jump now? You're seeing obviously a little bit of national love for them, ESPN, CBS, again, putting them in. But then I look at the schedule right now. Arkansas is going to be really, really difficult to deal with when South Carolina goes out there on September 10th. So the expectation for South Carolina, I think, is going to be very interesting as we move forward and go through the offseason, because Texas A&M is going to be a by most, I think I'm seeing right now, about a top 7 team. Dodd's got him at number 5 there on his way too early top 25. When we talk about South Carolina football, and you want to be that Clemson fan and weigh in on what Clemson's expectations are, you can do so. Our good buddy, John from Somerville, getting involved this morning, says Clemson at 9 is fair. I think top 15 would be a very good year for them next year, given the quarterback issues. So you look at the 2 in-state teams next year, and you try to project very early. Well, let's be honest, that's what we do, right? South Carolina, Clemson, and football-driven state, that's what we kind of start to project is way too early. What is our team going to look like? The Gamecocks with a lot of excitement and momentum. When you talk about Spencer Rattler, you talk about Austin Stogner, you look at the transfers over the weekend, you come off of that bowl victory in which the offense looked competent, looked like they knew what they were doing. They were able to effectively run the football. What becomes the realistic expectation? And those games I just pointed out, you look at the early schedule: on the road at Arkansas, on the road at Kentucky. Don't think South Carolina will be favored in those games. On the road at Clemson, probably not favored there. Georgia and Texas A&M, doesn't matter where you played those, probably won't be favored in either one of those games. And then Tennessee, man, it's hard to say South Carolina will be favored when the Vols come to Columbia. Florida, down in the swamp. Florida still has some talent. How the Billy Napier era looks is going to be interesting. Yesterday, they hire former New York Giant offensive coordinator and offensive line coach Rob Sale, who worked with Napier at Louisiana, to come in and be their offensive coordinator. So, there's certainly a lot of reason to be excited if you're South Carolina and you see the national publications giving them some love. But the question becomes, as we sit here today, what becomes the fair expectation? Because certainly not everybody else is really dropping off the map. You got these teams. Kentucky holds steady. Florida, what do they do? Tennessee seems to be improving. Georgia obviously is going to continue to be one of the top teams, not just in the SEC, but in the country, and you're not really gaining ground on them. So we'll kind of continue to see. 803-404-6100. JB weighs in. Bill, what do you think the chances of a night spring game are? All-day tailgating, some type of concert, great opportunity to showcase the new lights, excellent for recruiting. JB, I don't know if they'll have those new LED lights. I know they're going in. I don't know if they'll have them for the spring game. I'm not exactly sure how or what the timeline is on installing the lights at the stadium. For all I know, they might already be in. I don't know. I'm not a lighting expert. We got plenty of great advertisers on this station that might have more knowledge about that than I do, but I have zero clue when those lights will be in. As far as a spring game being at night, I do think maybe you try to set it for later in the afternoon. I don't know if you necessarily make it a 7 o'clock game. It's going to be mid-April. Easter this year is April 17th, if I'm thinking correctly. The Masters is April. I think Masters Sunday is April 10th that weekend. So that would have the RBC Heritage. I think we all would agree, don't go up against the Masters for the for spring game viewership there. So yeah, I would think April 16th seems about right, the weekend after, or you go with April 2nd, which seems a little early in my opinion. And then have a late afternoon spring game. There's going to be a lot of excitement about it. You're going to have the chance for one of the better turnouts. Could you do a concert over at Gamecock Park and really build up the festivities? Certainly. It's going to be a chance to have a big recruiting tool that South Carolina could use. We'll see if they're able to go out and take advantage of that. That's still a ways to go. I'm guessing we will find out more about the spring game and the spring practice schedule following the February signing period that comes up here about 3 weeks, I guess about 4 weeks, 3 weeks from today, to which now none of us pay attention to. It's just all focused on the transfer portal. Speaking of which, Alabama with 7 guys jumping in yesterday, Georgia with 2. We'll continue talking about that. What do you think about the transfer portal now as you're starting to really watch it affect college football? When you see a program like Alabama, the stability, the way that they've been able to hoard talent, elite level talent, and not let it escape Tuscaloosa. But you see 7 guys jump in the transfer portal, most notably Jalil Billingsley, the tight end for the Crimson Tide yesterday. Does it bring parity to college football? We'll continue talking about that as we roll on. It's a Wednesday morning here on the early game. Patrick Perret will be along shortly. Myself, Jen Jenson, we continue to get you through. You're listening to 107.5 The Game here on a Wednesday morning. Let's all be honest. The beginning of January can be a little difficult. I mean, it's not a lot of fun. It's cold. You got to deal with a whole bunch of post Christmas, post holiday stuff. You need great nights of sleep. And with a sleep number bed, that is exactly what you are going to get. I put that sleep number setting on 45. That's right. 45 is the big number there. If you were wondering, if you were very concerned about what my sleep number setting was, it's 45 each and every night. And I get that fantastic night of sleep. You can do the same right now. You just need to make the switch to Sleep Number today. You can do so by visiting either of the 2 Sleep Number stores here in town. There's one in Irmo on Harbison Boulevard across from Buffalo Wild Wings, the other in Columbia, Two Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. That's how you can get in touch with both of those. You can also visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. And right now, when you go visit a Sleep Number store and find out about the proven quality sleep that is indeed life-changing sleep, you can get a fantastic deal. Save up to save up to not $10,000. That'd be a lot. Save up to $1,000 on a Sleep Number bed right now. A 360 smart bed is the lowest prices of the season. Again, you can go find out what proven quality sleep is all about, and it starts with Sleep Number adjustability. It is the Sleep Number lowest prices of the season sale. Save $1,000 on a Sleep Number 360 smart bed. Again, 2 stores to choose from. One in Irmo and Buffalo on Harbison Boulevard. I'd figure that out, across from Buffalo Wild Wings, or in Columbia, Two Notch Road across from Sand Hills Mall. And as always, you can visit them on the web, sleepnumber.com. The lowest prices of the season right now with Sleep Number. Make the switch to Sleep Number today and find out what a great night of sleep is truly like.
Yeah, Patrick's good. He'll be here in just a little while. He was running late this morning. They gave me about 8 million Sleep Number spots, and I couldn't find the right one to read. I was having to guess there on that, so I was just ballparking. Yeah, Patrick will be along. And hey, Austin, hope you're doing good this morning. Got some good sleep. Austin had a good basketball practice last night. He was all over the floor working on a shot. So tonight is soccer in the cold. We go from basketball to soccer. He goes from basketball to soccer. So busy for him. Yeah, but Patrick will be along. We got to get a whole bunch of NFL thoughts from Patrick this morning. Just how bad is that New York Giants job? What is Joe Judge leaving? Daniel Jones. So we got a whole bunch of NFL stuff to get into with him. Let him talk for a little while. So good morning, Jordan. That's right. Busy day. Hope everybody stays warm. Yeah, I got a feeling the hour 2 will be the Patrick Perret NFL hour.
He'll be all fired up and ready for that.
He should be ready to go. Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree. The Giants' job. Let's see here. Let's put that up. Yeah, the Giants' job is 7 jobs right now. We'll get Patrick to rank them and talk about them, especially going into the playoffs. But they are rough looking jobs right now. I think the Vikings is not a bad job. The Vikings, it'll be. I mean, I don't know how bad the Dolphins roster is either. The Dolphins is kind of an interesting one. Morning, RL. Glad you're up and moving on a very cold morning. Jordan. Little man. Austin's got a Lakers thing. Lakers avatar, I guess. Morning to Craig. I really do like this fun fact. I don't feel like we have to throw that back at Patrick here in a little while on the Panthers being 0-6 against the fired coaches this cycle. Yep, I agree. Morning. Morning to you up in Greenville. I bet it's a little bit chillier up there in Greenville than it is down. It's cold down here.
Mm-hmm.
What's the high today, Jen?
Like 56.
Okay, that's an improvement. Austin won't freeze at soccer tonight. He should be happy. His dad'll freeze because I got to stand there and watch. But we'll purchase some more coffee.
Kids will be good.
Kids will be good. Kids run around. Yep. Jen, you think the Bears is a good job right now? It feels like after Matt Nagy, pretty much whoever comes in will be able to do whatever they want for the first 2 years, and people just be happy it's not Matt Nagy.
That's kind of where I am. I think you could really take that program and run with it and kind of hire who you want because why not? So, yeah, I think that would be a good job. And you've got a very passionate fan base, boy. You get them kind of like the Gamecocks. Get a coach in there that reels them in and then actually performs. It'd be good.
Yeah, the Dolphins, it'll be interesting to see what Stephen Ross does. He says he's not going to go after Harbaugh, but, I mean, all is fair in love in the NFL. You go do what you can do. There he is. He's wandering in. He's here. Oh, he's got a bang energy. What was that? We're gonna get through this segment, and then the next hour is the Patrick Perret NFL hour. Cool. Mr. Burns says Vikings and the Bears are the best jobs. He also says he'd take the Dolphins roster, just not the front office. So I said you would rank the jobs for everybody. Get yourself comfy and I'll get through some of this. No rush.
$6:47 on a Thursday morning. If you want to weigh in, a lot of NFL talk. Patrick Perret has made his way into the studio. I've informed him the next hour is some NFL talk. The smile, the excitement from Patrick is unparalleled this morning. We will get into it because on the live stream, talking about these 7 NFL jobs as we come up on the NFL weekend and how you would rank them 1 through 7 with the news last night. My son Austin, who was very excited. I don't know whether he doesn't like the New York Giants or whether he was just excited to tell me the news, came running in to let me know Joe Judge had officially been fired. Patrick, when we were here in the studio, you don't have to talk just yet. You can continue getting yourself ready. When we were here in studio, we were talking about the Giants job and what the Giants may do with Joe Judge, but we'll let Patrick kind of really get into some NFL discussion in the next hour.
Well, there are 3 teams that are very upset that Joe Judge lost his job yesterday.
3 teams?
Yeah, 3 teams in particular.
Uh-oh, who are that?
The Washington football team, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's true.
And they were all I was looking at reporters from all 3 teams. They were all like, yeah, he should have been fired, but that stinks because he's terrible at his job. He's a moron.
So we'll get into that. Yeah, Wednesday morning here. I don't know what I said, Clarence. I apologize. By midweek, we were talking about it earlier that it's crazy. It's already January 12th as we get closer, more near towards the middle of January. We'll get into a lot of NFL next hour. Obviously, the playoffs this coming weekend as well. I personally am excited about that Buffalo New England game, more so because of the weather. It's the high for Buffalo on Saturday. Just the overall high is 20 degrees. Snow is expected. I feel like it's going to be a great football game to sit in my living room with the fire going, with a beverage of choice, and maybe some good food, and watch and see all those people that will be very, very cold. But we'll get more into the NFL in the next hour as we'll let Patrick again not just break down those 7 jobs, but we're going to get him to rank them. Rank the 7 jobs of the attractiveness and the ability to get, whether it's to the playoffs, because the Vikings have been in the playoffs and that job's open. They've been around the playoffs. So maybe it's not just getting to the playoffs, but it's getting to the Super Bowl as well. We'll let Patrick talk a lot about that in hour number 2. One of the questions I was asking, though, this morning was, what do you think right now about the transfer portal? Name, image, likeness, Ray and Bowman. He says, and to Ray's defense, he said it a lot. He says, I can say it till I'm out of breath. Portal and NIL is terrible and going to ruin college football. Not a great idea for not even 18-year-olds to have that much money. That's just the start of it. And it is interesting because what happened yesterday with Alabama, again, we didn't see big names. Jalil Billingsley is going to be a quality prospect in the transfer market, but you didn't see massive names. It's not like you saw, a lot of their elite players hopping in the transfer portal yesterday and heading out of Tuscaloosa. But out the way Alabama recruits, these are still solid players that are leaving the program. And does that just create a little bit more parity in college football when you have more and more 4 and 5 stars go to these elite programs and realize, I'm kind of being recruited over?
It could thin out the benches a little bit. I mean, that's what we've always been amazed at with Alabama, particularly maybe the running backs, how they've just been content kind of to wait their turn, like sit on the bench for 2 years, then go ahead and start the 3rd year and then go to the NFL and so on and so forth. And just it goes like that all the time. Maybe guys are a little bit more impatient now, and some guys don't want to stay because, I mean, I only know really Billingsley and Drew Sanders, the linebacker, and then one quarterback who I guess was Bear Bryant's grandson. That was the only names that I know of the 7. But Billingsley was more of, I'm just speculating, reading between the lines, the fact that Nick Saban's talked about him at several press conferences this year, and his status is on the depth chart has been discussed. I think it's something about he's not fitting in to the program overall, or something between him and Saban. They're just not jiving overall. Drew Sanders, I think, is probably a playing time thing because when you look at the linebackers that are playing right now for Alabama, they're just freak athletes. Like Dallas Turner, that freshman, was unreal in the national championship. He's been a freak all year long. He's so fast and so athletic and just can do things that Drew Sanders probably can't do. Christian Harris will probably go pro, so maybe that would have been a starting spot for him. But I think that's more of a playing time thing. But I could see it bring more parity. But more not the transfer portal, more so the NIL, because we've discussed there's going to be guys that, hey, you can go sit on the bench in Tuscaloosa or you can come start in Columbia. Which one's going to make you more money? And it's going to be starting and being a star in Columbia.
Well, and one of the interesting ones was, again, Amir Speed, who is a Georgia player. Georgia had 2 players jump in the transfer portal yesterday. And I remember Amir Speed because this was a guy that South Carolina recruited heavily. Will Muschamp was trying to lead the charge there, Travaris Robinson. And I remember Amir Speed was a 4-star defensive back out of the state of Florida. And South Carolina got in early, and then Georgia kind of came in, and he goes to Georgia. But he was pretty prominent. He's for a guy who only started 3 games. He was pretty prominent being up on the podium, I guess Monday night, waving the Georgia flag and celebrating in the confetti. and less than 24 hours later, he's already jumped in the transfer portal. And you can't help but wonder, like, is it you get your national championship?
Now I'm good.
And then you're like, all right, I got it. Now I want to go play. Let me get out of here.
Like Seventh Woods did.
Yeah.
All right, well, won at North Carolina. Now I'll just go to a school where I can actually play. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I think the transfer portal is really not going to change quite as much as we think it's going to for this level. Like, obviously, there's going to be lots of SCS guys moving up, and there's going to be a lot of quarterback movement. But it is the NIL part of it that really intrigues me going forward. Guys maybe willing to play for a lesser school to be more prominent on the roster.
Lane Kiffin to the Vikings, Craig suggests on the Buford
love
Lending
it.
live stream. We'll get Patrick's NFL take. There's a lot to get into with the NFL right now, and we will get some takes on that. Continue talking about South Carolina, Tennessee from last night and the way too early top 25s. Patrick Perret has made it in studio. That makes Jen Jenson happy that she's not just dealing with me. It's the early game, a Wednesday version from what I'm told on 107.5 The Game.
I've just been cutting my mic on and off here during on the live stream.
I was having terrible acid reflux and tried to burp it out, and then it stuck in my throat. That's what I've been.
Oh boy.
Coughing up acid. Too much coffee. All right, let's see.
I injured my thumb last night at practice, and I've got a Band-Aid on it. And you don't realize how much.
You're not talking to anybody.
It should be. I'm unmuted on the thing.
Oh, you knew it that way.
Yeah, just because if it's just me sitting here, I can kind of handle it a little bit easier. But yeah, you don't realize how much you use your left thumb for sending text messages. Like I was trying to text you back while I was driving up the road, and it was not going well. Decor, they're Kobe Hudson. Looking at Kobe Hudson, the wide receiver out of Auburn. They're going to take a swing at Michael Trigg, the tight end from Southern Cal, but he's visiting Ole Miss this weekend. I mean, they'll probably look around. What's his name? Weeks. Is it Will Weeks? I can't remember which brother. There's two brothers. One of them was at Virginia, and he's a linebacker. The other brother is a 2024 recruit, I believe. Weeks is his last name. I can't remember. It's Will and Wes, I believe. And the one that was at Virginia, he's supposed to visit South Carolina here soon. I don't know, Austin. Patrick would know more. The Giants roster. How good is the Giants roster?
They have a lot of money allotted to a lot of low value positions right now, which is going to be a problem for them. Saquon didn't have a very good year. His time's running out. The Giants have good players, but they also paid $18 million to Kenny Golladay, who didn't score a touchdown this year. So, yeah.
There is that.
They paid $21 million, I think, to a defensive tackle in Leonard Williams, who's a very good defensive tackle, but $20 million to stop the run and not really influence the passer.
Is it Witt? Yeah, Witt Weeks. Witt Weeks. What did I say? Wes and Witt Weeks is. Man, I think you're right. I get I haven't paid as much attention. Recruiting is so weird. Now you used to be at this time 3-4 years ago. We used to be paying attention to January visits and the big recruiting buildup. And yeah, you were saying that about the Giants. Giants need a GM. They have to fix their. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they got to find. Old Gettleman's out the door. do a little bit of basketball to start, and then, like I said, kind of give you a second catch of breath. And then when we come back, the second segment will be let you just go through the jobs and rank them. And if it carries over for 2 segments, it carries over.
Do any guests?
No, Perry had Bible study at 7 a.m. So and it's crazy. I used to last night I was going through all my contacts, and basically all the people that I used to do basketball recruiting with, or like stuff like that. None of them are still doing. Like Michael Bolin is now an NBA editor. He runs a Georgetown basketball site, but like a bunch of them aren't doing college basketball anymore. Like, huh?
I would love to race Jordan Davis like 100 yards.
Oh yeah, somebody asked the return of the whiteboard. We do need to. I might have to go over to Patrick's house one day and throw the old whiteboard in the
truck.
in the Tahoe and bring it here. Yeah. Get it up behind him so that he can just turn and point.
We got to get a big whiteboard on the wall. Right
behind you.
Right there. A huge one.
I actually have one that I could probably bring in. I don't think we'd be able to hang it because it's actually too big.
I don't know what we could. I don't think we can hang anything on that.
But you could set it just right there. It actually wouldn't be a bad idea just to have. Oh, what was I gonna look up? Yeah, Stanford. Let's see what the schedule is for the basketball schedule for tonight. Villanova and Xavier at 6:30. Minnesota at Michigan State. Where's our buddy Scott? Probably should be. LSU is at Florida tonight. LSU beat Florida. It's the late games. Bye, buddy. Love you. Have a good day at school.
Hour number 2 here on the early game, the Wednesday morning edition, January 12th, 7:02 here at 107.5 The Game. Patrick Perret has arrived. We will get a lot of NFL thoughts from him this coming morning as an interesting time, Patrick, as we head toward the first weekend of NFL playoffs. You've got, I don't want to say the weird. It's going to be weird because it's new, but the weird Monday night playoff game. So we've got a full weekend, Saturday, 2 games Saturday, 3 games Sunday, 1 game Monday night of NFL playoffs. So you got plenty of stuff there to get into, and the 7 job openings. Are we expecting that to change? Do you think it sticks with 7?
I think it's going to stick with 7. Normally teams don't wait that long, but Pete Carroll and the Seahawks could mutually decide to no longer be together. I think it's
It
kind of
sounds
I think it's kind of trending towards the Seahawks realizing, hey, we've been really good for his whole tenure here. Let's not hurry this thing. Let's just try and keep him and Russ if possible. I don't think that he's going to leave.
well, you know what, and that's an interesting what you just said. That's another NFL topic that maybe we should go down to is again as we wrap up college football and we look toward the NFL. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
If you've got to choose one that's back with their team next year, it's Rodgers, right? Like it feels
Probably.
like for everything that's happened as we sit here from August 1st, I guess, is that fair? July 15th? I don't know. I'm trying to kind of round off a particular date when it seemed the Aaron Rodgers crisis was peak there, peak mode. But Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay organization, the front office, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to fix whatever their issues are. Aaron Rodgers is late in his career. He still has some years ahead of him. It doesn't feel like Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur are the issue. Those two seem to
No.
get along.
No, not at all.
And Jordan Love has done, I think, enough now to say he is not the guy moving forward. Like Green Bay, if you want to hand the reins over to him, you're blowing the whole thing up and starting over.
He's pretty much played bad every moment he's had the opportunity to play.
So with all that being said, Russell Wilson a little bit different. I don't know if Seattle views this as a very quick fix and they can do it around Russell Wilson.
Or if it's their choice.
That's true.
Because Russ wants to leave too, but this is what's kind of always annoyed me about Russ is Aaron Rodgers made it clear he didn't want to come back to the Packers, said, okay, I'll come back. I'll give it a year. I've heard him in interviews basically just say, I'm trying to stay in the moment right now, be where my feet are. Obviously, there are big decisions coming up for me, but I'm not going to talk about that or think about that right now. It's like, okay, fair, acknowledged it, avoided the question. But Russ has been saying in interviews, I'm hopeful that I'll come back and be a Seahawk next year. And everyone's like, dude, it's your choice. If you're not a Seahawk next year, it's because you decided to leave. You already said, hey, I'm happy in Seattle. I don't need a trade, but if I were to get traded, I want to be a Bear, Raider, or Saint. So you're sending mixed messages all the way, and I think that I think that I'm in agreement with a lot of people who say that Sierra is probably a big part of this too. She probably hates Seattle.
Excellent.
Russ is a bright lights guy. He wants to be in the big city, not the foggy city or the overcast city. I think he's going to be gone, but I don't know that the Seahawks could do better than Pete Carroll either without Russ.
803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning if you need to. If you want to, you can do so via the Buford Lending live stream, or you can hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line as we will get into a lot of NFL discussion this morning here with Patrick. Because you heard that. I mean, that is as we go to the playoffs, and of the teams you just mentioned, the Bears, that there's a job opening there, but they have Justin Fields. That makes that job kind of attractive. We'll get your rankings coming up. The Raiders, Derek Carr's played, I guess, better than you could have expected, although I kind of attribute that to the supposed quarterback whisperer, John Gruden. I know he hadn't been there, but Derek Carr still had, 2.5 years of learning under Gruden? Is that about right? Is that so? Improvement from there, but that's two job openings that you've got right there. And you just mentioned that for Russell Wilson. The third one obviously would be the New Orleans Saints, not a job opening, but in the market potentially for a quarterback. So we'll get a lot of NFL thoughts moving forward from Patrick this morning on that. A few other things that happened overnight. South Carolina, Patrick, loses 66-46 to Tennessee in Knoxville. I didn't think they would win the game. They were a 15.5-point underdog, and I thought it was a bad matchup. The numbers that come out this morning that are worrisome, that bother you if you're a South Carolina fan, though, what we would consider to be the backbone of this team. I know you've got the transfers in. Frank Martin has raved about James Reese. He's talked highly about Eric Stevenson. Wildens Levesque, I think, is having a good year. But when you started the season, you said, hey, Jermaine Couisnard and Keyshawn Bryant should be the backbone of this team. Last night, they combined for just 6 points. They have 8 total turnovers. Both of them play 16 minutes. Jermaine Couisnard just right now is struggling to find his rhythm, to find his way offensively with this team. Just 2 shots taken last night. It's one thing if he goes out and has a Eric Stevenson-esque type 2 of 10 performance. That's what Stevenson was last night. 2 of 10 from the field, 1 of 6. You go, okay, Couisnard is trying to assert himself in the offense. But when I see Couisnard with just 2 shots taken and with 4 turnovers, 16 minutes played, 1 point, I don't know. He just doesn't know his role, it feels like. And he is a part of this basketball team that if they're going to make any kind of postseason, if they're going to put themselves in potential come mid-February for the postseason, he has to play better. And last night is concerning.
And the deeper into the season it goes,
Right.
the less convinced you are that, okay, well, now it's going to click. Now they figured it out. And yeah, we thought bringing in the true point guards, multiple true point guards, was really going to help him keep the ball out of his hands a little bit. And it was kind of a disaster. It was actually not a very entertaining game to watch yesterday. Like, the first half was extremely sloppy. I thought South Carolina kept themselves in the game, but I think Tennessee might have actually just helped South Carolina in the game because Tennessee wasn't playing very well in the first half either. Their fans were sitting down the entire time. It was just not a lot of energy in that arena. It was just kind of bad basketball for the first half.
It was what it was, but it was what South Carolina wanted and needed. And that's what the announcers kept talking
but
about.
I know South Carolina needed that, but I don't know if it was South Carolina doing something right to make it messy versus Tennessee or just Tennessee not playing well.
They didn't get off to a good start against Tennessee. Did not get off to a good start against Mississippi a few weeks ago. But what ended up happening last night? I thought it was South Carolina. It was just like you said. It was a physical. Everybody kept referring to it. Dane Bradshaw, Pat Bradley, the two. Pat Bradley back in studio. Dane Bradshaw obviously on the call for the game, but kept referring to it as a rock fight. You knew it was going to be physical. And kind of to your point, you mentioned it, or they said it. The announcers said it on TV multiple times. The Tennessee crowd was not into the game. They were very quiet. Then you had the Tennessee bench, and it was something that you brought up multiple times. They weren't up and kind of excited about it. Day hits us up, and he's got a point. This is where South Carolina. It was an ugly game, but South Carolina has a 21-19 lead with 2.5 minutes left in the first half, and then Tennessee started hitting some 3-pointers. I had to go to my son's basketball practice at 7:45. I don't know why we got 9 and 10-year-olds practicing basketball at 7:45. That's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. But Tennessee hits the three. It's a 3-point game. It's 27-24, final seconds of the half. Tennessee sinks a contested 3-pointer, a very tough 3-pointer. They go up 6, and Patrick, I know it was just a 6-point lead, and I was walking out the house to go to this basketball practice, but I felt that was the ball game at that point, that the 6-point lead was probably going to be a little bit too much to overcome, and that was the momentum spark that Tennessee needed last night to get going in that game.
Yeah, they were just – I mean, it's pretty clear that they're a better team, and that's without – would you say Kennedy Chandler's their best player right now? I mean, I would assume so. He's the top point guard, was the top point guard in the country. He's just a stud, but even he didn't play a great game yesterday. They're just better. I mean, their size stuck out a little bit. That kid, the Plavasic, the backup center, I guess, he is so large. I guess he's a true 7-footer, but he looked even bigger than that. He just took up so much space, made it so difficult. But they're just a much better team. They play really good defense, and I'm not surprised that South Carolina was held under 50 points, but they didn't shoot the ball well either. And just one of those nights that nothing was really going well, and we didn't expect a positive result, but you could have done a little bit better to make it competitive.
It certainly, again, it was a difficult night for South Carolina. It was something that they need to. I don't know what they're going to. I do think Florida, by the way, plays LSU tonight, 7:00 ESPN. If you want to check it out, LSU is really athletic and really good. I don't know what the point spread is on that, but I instantly like LSU. Florida is not a team that has really impressed me this season, and I think South Carolina's got a good chance to win that one on Saturday, 1:00 at Colonial Life Arena. I think you get to 2-2 in SEC play, and you kind of keep treading water there, hoping to go on a run. But Jermaine Couisnard, Jim hits us up on the Buford Lending live stream. You can join us there. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and subscribe. You can also check us out on Facebook. But Jim hits us up on the Buford Lending live stream. He says, Frank keeps playing Couisnard at point guard, and he is clearly not comfortable there. He needs to be playing him at the 2 or 3, but doesn't want to take Reese or Stevenson out, which I understand. You got to find a way to rotate them. You got to find a way. I think at this point, I agree there with that. And then Allen, basically on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, also weighing in and saying they just Couisnard, Bryant, Levesque didn't look didn't look comfortable last night, looked a little hapless. So, yeah, a lot there with South Carolina's upperclassmen. Levesque, I think, is giving you everything he's got. I actually am kind of, when I say impressed, you've seen Levesque improve year by year by year. I don't expect him to be some kind of NBA prospect. The problem with Wildens Levesque last night, guards are struggling to get him the ball. I mean, look, South Carolina last night, Patrick, they hit their number again in turnovers. This has to stop, and Frank has kind of talked about it, but 23 turnovers by South Carolina last night, just 10 assists. Levesque can't dribble the ball up.
No.
You go down, they're not able to get him the basketball in the lane. They're not able to get Taquan Woodley had one move. He only played 12 minutes last night and grabbed 4 rebounds and scored 1 point. It was a point that he scored off of a move down low where he just powered through, drew the foul, and made 1 and 2 free throws. Trayvon Minott last night came in for a few minutes and played 2 minutes and really didn't make an impact. But
Yeah,
South Carolina last night really just the guards. That's when you look at it. I mean,
Josh Gray played 10 minutes, scored no points either.
Yeah.
You got 1 post point.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to get the ball down there. Just going through right now, your guards, Reese, Stevenson, and Cousinard combined for 10 turnovers last night. You throw Keyshawn Bryant in the mix, that's 14 out of your 23 turnovers. So the guards certainly need to play better. There's no doubt about that, and that's a big part of it when you talk about getting the ball into the post. 803-404-6100 if you want to continue to weigh in on that. Up next, we get back into a little NFL discussion. Patrick Perret will rank the 7 NFL jobs that are out there. What is the most attractive? It's kind of like an NFL draft ranking. If he is the head coach, how would he rank them? How would he view them? We'll talk a little NFL with you this morning. And Richard also saying, I know you guys don't talk much NBA, but Ja Morant is making his claim as the best player in the league. If he keeps it up at this rate, he will be MVP this year. You agree with that? Morant has been really good.
He's killing it right now. He's making not just highlight reel plays, but he's stuffing the stat sheet. Yeah, he's one of the best players in basketball right now.
Yeah, 803-404-6100. Thank you for joining in, Richard, Allen, Day. We all see you on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Also see everybody out on the Buford Lending live stream this morning. We'll continue the discussion there off air. If you want to weigh in or you want to jump in on the Buford Lending live stream, go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and you can weigh in as well. And we'll get into some of that off air as we always do. You can search again, 1075 The Game on youtube.com. Subscribe and join us. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
Live, local, and free. That's how we do sports. 1075 The Game. Feel free to call and complain if you wish.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
Remember, we are free of charge, after all.
From the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center, Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. ShepherdsGlass.com. We do have a tie-up I-26 westbound if you're coming back from the Orangeburg area just before exit 125. There is an accident there.
Austin's got practice at 7:45, and that is miserable. I go home, we eat dinner, I get comfy, I'm laying there watching basketball, and then at like 7:20, I've got to get up. And I coach a little bit with them. Then I've got to get up. Then I got to get
this morning. It's 28.
energized for an hour basketball
by the
practice.
U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The holidays, friends, parties, more chances to get COVID. But a booster can give everyone who's 16 or older and vaccinated stronger COVID protection, even against Omicron. We can do this. Find a booster near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the
Jay, I think it just depends on how the rest of the season goes. I mean,
and 3-time champion. Pro football's all-time leading rusher Emmitt Smith talks about joint pain.
Look at the schedule real quick. Florida, at Arkansas, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. I mean, South Carolina, and 3 of those games are at home.
Joint pain, knees, hips, lower
South
back,
Carolina
shoulders.
probably can win 3 of their next 4. Probably should win 3 of their next 4.
I've
gone
gone
under
the knife to get rid of pain, but now there are options.
You win 3 of your next 4, and you're sitting at 4 and 3.
QC Kinetics, exciting new natural biologic
And that'd be,
therapies that can repair and
13
restore
and
damaged
6.
tissue in your joints. New options
You're not in
now
a bad
available
spot.
here.
You're not in a great spot. Then you go on a run of at A&M, at Mississippi State,
Real
Tennessee,
relief with
Kentucky.
no surgery,
full
no
point.
drugs, no downtime. Call
That'll
the
be
local
the
medical
deciding
professionals
factor.
at QC Kinetics for regenerative restorative treatments with lasting relief.
But now, you and I,
Oh
we
yeah,
have
is
help.
that, what is
QC
that from?
Kinetics.
Is that
Call QC
from
Kinetics.
turning off? And then if the air signal's on,
Should be good.
oh, now we're good. Yeah,
Is your speaker on?
Yeah.
Were you hearing it?
yeah, it was. yeah. It 7:45. Like he's at soccer practice tonight at 5:30 to 7, and I can live with that. And I'm also starting to enjoy the not coaching part where I can just go out there and hang out with the other parents and talk. And if I want to take my Yeti, I can take a Yeti from 5:30 to 7. And
I'm sure
yes,
they love
Craig,
that too.
I agree, Craig. It does. The upside is I'm not having a weeknight drink on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday right now. Yeah, there we go. South Carolina got up. I mean, South Carolina got up 8-2 there. They were up 8-2, and then Tennessee went on an 11-1 run. It was kind of back and forth. Is this the show that comes on late? Do you know?
Is this Thursday?
Yeah,
No, I don't think this is a show.
it's just a podcast.
I think this is just a podcast. Yeah. And I don't think the Westwood One previews do any favors to the show.
Really?
Just the way
It presents it.
it presents it, yeah.
There was a show that I was listening to coming home last night. They were actually kind of funny. They were arguing. I mean, it was kind of stupid, but it was kind of funny. They were talking about Penn State and about James Franklin. And like one of the guys is a big Penn State fan, and the other one hates Penn State. And they were like, one guy was trying to make the case that James Franklin could be the next Kirby Smart.
Those guys, I know Mark Titus played basketball at Ohio State. They're just college basketball guys, basically. I think that's all they talk about.
Whose voice is that?
Hey, Derek Scott calls.
Sound like Derek.
I don't know.
Eight zero
803-404-6100. Now you can join us this morning.
Couple people weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, as well as weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream. We'll go through a couple of these real quick and then get to some NFL discussion. DC saying, I'm not interested in watching this basketball team. The brand of basketball Frank coaches hard to watch. Over on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, Jay from the Interstate, he says, I'm seeing the same things with the basketball team. Outman, can't shoot, too many turnovers, and can't shoot free throws. Seems same thing we've seen the last several years, already losing interest. Again, last night, look, Tennessee's ranked. I'm not trying to make excuses for South Carolina. I pointed out on the live stream, the next 4 games, you break down South Carolina's basketball schedule over the next 8 games. And the next 4, really the Gamecocks need to go 3-1, and it's doable. Florida, at Arkansas, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. We've seen them beat Vanderbilt. I'm not impressed with Florida. The road trip to Arkansas, I don't know when South Carolina's ever played well in Fayetteville, but you go 3-1 in that. You get to 4-3 in conference. You'd be sitting at 13-6 overall. But then after that, the following 4, Texas A&M on the road at Texas A&M, on the road at Mississippi State, and then home game, back-to-back home games against Tennessee and Kentucky. those road games, that it's going to be difficult. So you break down the next 8 and you break them into 2 sections of 4, Patrick. Yeah, we'll know a lot about this team. They're hanging in there. Last night, again, Tennessee's a better basketball team. That doesn't make anybody feel better. I get that. I'm not saying that you should just throw your hands up and say, hey, Tennessee and Auburn are better teams. Auburn up to number 4 in the rankings and beat Alabama last night. That was actually a lot of fun to watch. It was a great environment in Tuscaloosa, and 2 high-level basketball teams, Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl there with the athletes they had on the floor. Jabari Smith was incredible. For as bad as Jabari Smith was here a week ago, he was fun to watch last night, and showed why he's the potential number 1 pick.
So depressing seeing those teams have such good basketball teams.
I like
especially Alabama.
I like watching the environments, man. You don't get that you don't get that at Colonial Life Arena. Even when South Carolina, when Frank's had the teams rolling, the South Carolina fans it's just not a great basketball.
That's why I like watching some of the Big Ten teams or some of the ACC teams. But I don't like seeing Alabama have such a good basketball team. I don't like seeing Alabama schools have such good environments. Like, those are football schools. They have national championships in football. They don't deserve that in basketball, too. They don't deserve it.
They don't get it.
Nobody needs to be that good. Who's the best? Because Florida famously won the national championship in basketball and football in the same season. Who's the best right now, both sports? Is it Alabama?
Baylor. Are you talking about across the board?
Just best athletic department right now in the top 2 sports.
I mean, it's probably Baylor, isn't it? Baylor's number 1 in basketball, and I don't know what they necessarily fit. I don't
They're
know.
Not coming close to winning a national championship in football, though.
Not coming close, but I don't know if they're necessarily coming close in I don't know if Alabama's coming close in winning basketball. But I mean, Baylor loses last night to Texas Tech. No more undefeated teams in college basketball. So
happened pretty quickly.
Yeah. Both Baylor, it did. Both Baylor and Southern Cal losing yesterday. 803-404-6100. Also last night, Joe Judge out. Were you really shocked by this? Like, I guess I was shocked that it took a few extra days, although I guess it was only Tuesday, so maybe I should have expected Joe Judge to get the pink slip as soon as he walked off the field over the weekend, but he makes it to Tuesday night. Patrick, you're the NFL guru, the expert. 7 open jobs in the NFL right now. Raiders, Vikings, pretty interesting jobs. Jacksonville, you got a young quarterback, you got a decent roster, a lot of cap money. You've got the Bears, another young quarterback. That's 4 of them there. You look around the Dolphins, the Giants, there's 6. By the way, I didn't confirm this. I'm just going to read it, okay? I'm just going to read. But before you got here, there was a stat sent in to us by Cyburn on our Buford Lending live stream. Stat was Matt Rule this year went 0-6 against the fired coaches. Does that seem right?
He played 6 of 7 of them?
Apparently so.
It's possible. We can double check that pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, but rank your jobs. Rank these jobs. You got the 7 jobs. Rank these jobs that are out there right now. What is the one? Go 1 through 7 here and break it down a little bit. And if you had to, we'll take another segment on it. But it is interesting because the NFL right now and the potential that if Matt Rule doesn't improve, Panthers fans out there, you're in the market next year.
So for the best job available, I can see one of 2 teams if you want to make the case for either one. I can see it being Jacksonville or Denver. I tend to lean Denver is the best job opening because I think there is something to be said for just a successful organization. It does seem like there's certain teams or certain ownerships. Washington, for example, Jacksonville is one of these where it's just they can't find success. They always get in their own way and something messes up. The Jaguars were in a beautiful position last year, and it was the dream scenario for any coach or GM, and they gave it to Urban Meyer. They gave the job to Urban Meyer, and he completely botched it. But they're still in a good position. I just think that Denver is just a phenomenally built team right now, and all they're missing is the quarterback. It's a big piece.
It is a
really big piece, but Denver's in a position very similar to what they were before Peyton Manning came, where if they can plug in someone, if they can convince Aaron Rodgers to come to Denver, which if you've seen some of Aaron Rodgers interviews this year, I think he'd probably want to go to Denver because they legalized weed there.
Oh, okay.
Aaron Rodgers is a complete hippie now. I think he would love Denver, and I think there's a lot of buzz that he's going to go to Denver. I think if I had to bet on it right now, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Bronco next year. They're probably going to win 2 to 3 Super Bowls. So, no, I think Denver is in just a really, really good position. I think it was a mistake for them to draft Patrick Surtain instead of Justin Fields. I think they would have been better served in the long term to draft a quarterback. But Patrick Surtain has been awesome. That defense is awesome. And I don't think it's just because they had the best defensive coordinator or the best defensive mind, Vic Fangio, leading that defense. So I won't be surprised at all if they end up hiring Brian Flores and say, hey, run that defense just like Vic Fangio did, and we'll find you a quarterback. Get a good coordinator. We'll be good to go.
So you're going Denver. You're going Denver 1, and you're going to put Jacksonville 2.
And then I'm going to put Jacksonville 2. Denver is just more ready-made, whereas Jacksonville has all of the pieces and all the resources. So there's certain coaches in well, they're not hiring a GM, but there's certain coaches that might like this better because you can kind of mold the team in your image, but your quarterback is locked down. It's kind of the opposite of Denver, but your quarterback is locked down for the long term for at least 4 more years, and then as long as you guys can keep re-signing him, Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy there. They have, I think, the third most cap space in the league. They have the number 1 pick, and they have a ton of picks. They have a second first-round pick, and they have a ton of picks in that draft. So you have a lot of opportunities to make this a much better team. The pass rush should be better this year just by virtue of getting Aiden Hutchinson, number 1, or Kayvon Thibodeau, but I think it'll end up being Aiden Hutchinson. All you got to do right now, order of business number 1, is spend that money on offensive linemen and protect Trevor Lawrence, and then start finding him weapons, because that's really all they're missing is line and weapons. They've got a really good roster. They've got a lot of money. The only reason they're not number 1 is I think there's something up with the way that organizations run. There's a reason that teams perennially are losers, even with high picks, but it's almost too many resources to screw up. So I would go ahead and definitely take them number 2, and I think that would be tier 1. Then I think there's a second tier where I would put number 3 as the Dolphins. That would probably be my next pick. I think there's a lot of talent there. Jalen Waddle is going to be a superstar. We can already tell that in year 1. Tua has played well mostly this year. The Dolphins, you can really sell yourself on either side of it, because they ended the season 8-1, but they started at 1-7. So there's clearly two different teams there, and I think it's all going to hinge on how bought in are you on Tua. If there's a coach that says, hey, I've watched Tua every snap, and I think there's a lot to work with here, and I love this guy, you're going to look at that job and say, all right, let's do it, because the Dolphins have the most cap space in the NFL. They have a lot of opportunity to make that thing happen. And if you're on the anti-Tua side, first of all, I don't know if you're getting that job, because I just don't know what Chris Greer is thinking. And he and Stephen Ross were clearly butting heads with Brian Flores for quite some time. So that will be interesting. But if you're anti-Tua, there's also the rumors that Deshaun Watson doesn't want to play anywhere but Miami.
Okay.
So either way, you kind of have the quarterback solved, whether you like Tua or not. You just got to make sure that all gets cleared up and his legal troubles are behind him. But the Dolphins have a lot to work with, and I think I would put them 3. And it's not as important as in the NBA, the premier destination, because in the NBA, if you're not in like LA, New York, Miami, you're not getting the big time free agents because they just all want to go play in those cities. The NFL, it still matters a little bit. Like, guys want to play in Miami and live in Miami, so you'll at least get yourself a meeting with all the top free agents to spend the most money in the league. I would assume that the Dolphins will bring in some pretty big names this offseason. So they're number 3. And number 4, I think I'm going to put the Raiders.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going back and forth on that because I don't love their roster. And I actually think they should hire Rich Bisaccia, because what he's held that team together through has been very, very impressive. Like, obviously, he got the job because of the John Gruden situation. And then you had the Henry Ruggs incident, which was tragic and just could have really ruined the whole season for them. You had Damon Arnett being an idiot and flashing guns and threatening people with guns on Instagram Live, and he lost his job, and another guy got a DUI last week before their play-in game. So he's held them together through a lot. And again, it's gonna matter what coach or what candidate if they're sold on Derek Carr, because I think Derek Carr's actually been really good this year. And some people just refuse to buy into him because he turns the ball over a lot. But I think there's a lot to work with. And the only reason that I don't love that opening is because I'm not very much sold on Mike Mayock. I think he's made some really dumb draft choices. Drafting Alex Leatherwood, who was the consensus like 5th offense or rated tackle, and you draft him at 18 overall. I think that was a mistake. Drafting what's his name? The safety who's now a linebacker for them was a complete mistake. I'm blanking on his Jonathan Abram from Mississippi State. He was a complete bust and a complete miss, and no one thought they should do that. So they traded Khalil Mack and then got nothing out of him ultimately with the pieces they acquired. So I'm not in love with the way he's built that team, but I still think there's a lot to work with. So Raiders number 4.
All right, you got the Raiders 4. I'm going to give you my top 4 when we come back. They're going to be a little bit different with you.
Okay.
I don't necessarily agree with you, and I'll break it down.
I think we'll agree on number 7.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. The Giants are Giants are 7. They stink.
Yeah.
Good news for you, Jen. The Giants are. It's not the Bears. I'm a little surprised he didn't put the Bears in his top 4. We'll get to that though. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Woo! Feel a little sore this morning. It's a little cold out. So if you've been having some issues with inflammation, got some problems with your muscles, with some tissue issues, some ligament problems, now's the time to get it fixed. You don't want to deal with it during the cold weather, and you certainly don't want to deal with it when the summer rolls around. You want to be out on the lake or maybe on the golf course or out there playing football with the kids. Whatever it is that's causing constant chronic pain, get rid of it and do it without having to deal with surgery. Call QC Kinetics today and get a free consultation. 803-281-6860. It is regenerative medicine, allowing your body to heal itself. No downtime, no steroids, no opioids. And again, you heard me, the best part, no surgery. Allow QC Kinetics medical professionals to work with you. If you've been experiencing pain in your shoulders and your hips and your knees, if you got problems with your ankles or your feet, don't allow it to continue to hamper your mobility in 2022. Call QC Kinetics today, 803-281-6860. Again, you can get a free consultation to see what they can do to help get you back to living the life you want in 2022. Again, 803-281-6860. If you're tired of constant chronic pain, weary from the impact of limited mobility, and you're tired of addictive pain medications, it's time to call QC Kinetics today. 803-281-6860.
Yeah, 2 would hurt. Yeah, 2 would hurt my heart.
There we go. Let's see here. Yep, the Aaron Rodgers thing is his record is kind of brutal.
I think it's just money. Is why Rule gets another year. I get why they re-signed McCaffrey, but it was a mistake. Exactly what I said about McCaffrey, you said about Rule. I agree. I think he should be fired, but I'm never going to fault a team for being completely patient.
Well, I feel like they probably look at it as they're just a quarterback away.
They do need to re-sign DJ Moore, for sure. He's a star. I need to start a show today.
Do what?
I need to start a show today.
Oh, big yeah, you
I
got.
don't know what it's going to be.
How long is that final break? Four minutes on the final break, so try and make this a quick segment. I won't spend as much time as you did on my top four.
Okay.
But I'll counteract, and you can. Ross says 1883.
Yeah.
1883 is.
I'm not ready to start that yet because I think I need to watch one show that's not crazy long before I get into Yellowstone in 1883. I don't want to watch them right after a new season came out. I want to watch them closer to when the next seasons come out. Also, why are they on at the same time? Weren't Yellowstone and 1883 overlapping?
Wednesday morning edition, 7:41 here, 107.5 The Game. Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, Jen Jenson rolling through on a cold morning. So stay warm out there. Yes, you in agreement?
Very cold.
Yes, it is. It is chilly out there. So stay warm.
It took me a while to defrost my windshield.
Stay warm out there this morning. Talk a little NFL. 7 open jobs in the NFL. Patrick Perret has just given his top 4 jobs. He has Denver at 1, Jacksonville at 2, the Miami Dolphins at 3, and the Las Vegas Raiders at number 4 there. So you're going Denver 1, Jacksonville 2, Dolphins 3, Raiders 4.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to differ with you here. Number 1, I'm going to take the Vikings. That's the best job. Look, you got Dalvin Cook, who's proven when healthy had another 1,000-yard seasons in the NFL don't mean quite as much, but when healthy, Dalvin Cook, solid player. You got Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson as your wide receivers. I don't know how you feel about Kirk Cousins. I think Cousins had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions this year. If you believe Cousins is the guy, here's the other thing about the Vikings job, and it's out there. Depends on how you want to view it. If Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay, that division's wide open.
Yeah.
You're stepping into the Lions are not a threat to anybody. The Bears' job is open. The Packers, I don't know what they would do. The Vikings, this is an organization that had they were 8-9 this year. 8-9, 7 losses by a touchdown or less, 4 by 3 points or less. They were close this year. They got a solid team. And they got a history of getting to the postseason. The biggest thing is you're going to have expectations right off the bat with the Vikings. You go to Minnesota, you're going to have expectations to get to the playoffs. You have no honeymoon period. You're getting 2-3 years max.
I would say they were a good team. They have the 4th least cap space in the NFL.
But you're
Like, I have them second to last because I'm pretty sure that they're gonna be going through I think they're gonna blow it up.
well, they might.
They might say, "Hey, new coach, we'll try and hold it together for 1 year, and you go for it, and then we'll decide if we wanna stay down this path," but you can't commit another $40 million a year to Kirk Cousins.
Well,
You can't keep doing
where,
that.
where do you go quarterback again? Are you content with Cousins? Is Cousins the guy, or are you going there? That's the big
And
thing.
you know what? Vikings fans are already they're already bracing themselves for Justin Jefferson leaving
Well,
because they said Randy Moss became an
Yeah.
All-Pro and left us. Stephon Diggs became an All-Pro and left us. Justin Jefferson is going to do the same thing to
and
us.
you've got a chance to save it. Here's why I put them ahead of Denver. I got Denver at 2. Denver, you're dealing with KC, you're dealing with the Chargers. I do like the Raiders' job. That division, the AFC West, a lot difficult. I do have Denver at number 2 because of everything you said. The roster is set up. Melvin Gordon still there. You find your quarterback, you're probably a Super Bowl contender. I like the Vikings. I got the Vikings 1. I got the Dolphins 2. I actually have Jacksonville at 3. I think you're in a good spot. You're going to get, after the complete Urban Meyer disaster, basically you can go in and just don't get caught in a bar with a girl in a red dress is all you've got to do. Like, fly home with the team after you get beat by somebody on Thursday night. Don't do anything stupid, and you get 3 years in Jacksonville. You've got the number 1 pick there in Trevor Lawrence. You're going to have the number 1 pick again this year. You have some quality pieces. The roster's not completely a disaster. We said it yesterday. Urban Meyer was the disaster, not necessarily Jacksonville. And I think Shad Khan, the owner, is going to be more than willing to give whomever at least 3 years. You're going to have time. That division, Texans are a bit of a disaster. The Colts, we'll see where the Colts go, and the Titans with Derrick Henry are still very good.
Right.
But I don't think that division scares me as much. And again, you've got some job security there in Jacksonville, and you've got some nice pieces to work with. I'd have Jacksonville at number 3. Number 4 on my list, I debated this. I went back and forth, but I'm going to go back to the division thing, the fact that you're going to get time, the fact that you got a rookie or a young quarterback in Justin Fields. I go Chicago at 4, man. Again, the division is wide. If you believe Aaron Rodgers is heading out of Green Bay, if you believe, now I will also say this caveat: if you're telling me that Denver is getting Aaron Rodgers, Denver becomes my top pick. If you're telling me that, because some of this is all tied in, but if Aaron Rodgers is bolting Green Bay, that division becomes wide open. Matt Nagy, again, nobody liked him. What is it? You guys said that they were booing his son at his high school game or something.
The fans certainly were out on him.
Jen has a dartboard back behind her with just pictures of Matt Nagy all over it that she was throwing darts at. It's kind of the same scenario with maybe a little bit better roster, a little bit better division as Jacksonville. Justin Fields scares me a little bit. I'm not sure I'm ready to necessarily buy in on him. I know I just talked about Trevor Lawrence, who had a worse year. But again, I blame more of that on the coaching there in Jacksonville than I do on Trevor Lawrence. It's true. It's a good point. Yeah, you look at it, that roster's okay. It's not a great roster. I think but you get stability. You're going to get, after what just happened with Matt Nagy, you're going to get at least 3 years. The NFL is a weird thing. College, we've moved down your time frame to being about 4 years. You know, you're seeing Brian Flores, who I think is a decent coach. I guess Brian Flores might be put on a pedestal higher because he's being fired after what he just did. Like, is Brian Flores an average coach who's now being elevated to great coach because of
I have the Bears at 5th and 6th best. We don't need to go much over the Giants because they're a complete dumpster fire. But I have the Bears at 5th and 6th, even though they might be the best. They might be the best teams, but they just are so close to that window being closed. Like the Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, Roquan Smith is going to be a free agent soon. That core that's made their defense really good, they're either coming close to retirement or free agency, and it's going to be hard to keep that group together. So the team you inherit 2 years from now could look completely different.
803-404-6100. We'll finish up the NFL conversation. But, yeah, Patrick's got Denver, Jacksonville, Miami, and the Raiders. I've got Minnesota, Denver, Jacksonville, and Chicago, your top 4 picks. Little NFL discussion here on the early game. Bill Gunter, Patrick Brett, she's Jen Jenson. You're listening to 107.5 The Game.
Hopefully something happens today worth talking about.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna try to meet my neighbors tomorrow. I might see Thursday tomorrow. Just make sure she's out. She's
Thursday and Friday. All right, so Sonny, I did watch Wheel of Time. I enjoyed it. Very nerdy, but I like that too. It's more I know I've heard about it initially because I heard about Jeff Bezos just spending hundreds of millions of dollars to make the next Game of Thrones. He said, "Make me the next Game of Thrones, whatever it costs," and this is supposed to be that. It's never going to be as big as Game of Thrones, but it's an interesting little world. I do think, Jay and Ross, I do think Ozark is the one I'm going to watch next. I've never seen it. I almost started watching it on Sunday, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. I was tired. I wasn't in the mood to start a new series. But right after this show, before I go to bed, I think I might toss the pilot on. It's just kind of a big commitment. And then I'll never catch up by the time this season gets started, so I'm also kind of thinking, what's the point of rushing into it? It's probably now or never, though. Yeah, 44 episodes. Or there will be 44 episodes, I guess. 10, 20, 30. This is a 14-episode season? Yikes. A couple people have suggested Stranger Things. I don't think I'll ever be able to watch Stranger Things. I don't think I'm ever going to get there.
Are you just not a fan of the Stranger Things franchise?
I've never seen it, but it just doesn't seem like something I'm super interested in. Bunch of kids and aliens. Basically,
It's not aliens. It's not aliens. It's a good point on what exactly they are. I guess like an underworld type thing. I mean, I guess it depends what you want to label as aliens. But I've got into Stranger Things. It's just Stranger Things is running.
It's starting to run
kind of in on what its content is, if that makes sense.
And the kids are growing up, right? Too quickly?
Yeah, well, that's become an issue with COVID. They probably could have gotten 2 more seasons out of Stranger Things. They're gonna be I mean, it depends on how far, and like they're all, what is it? The Finn. Jen, have you gotten into Stranger Things? Do you watch Stranger Things?
No, I just know, isn't there somebody name of it 11 or 7 or?
Yeah, 11.
Oh, is that the girl? There's a girl. One of the girls, and it's very famous now.
She's gotten there, and Finn Hargood, whatever the boy, the main character, was just in Ghostbusters.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah,
she's very famous now.
Yeah, the Demogorgon. Yeah, I like Stranger Things. Stranger Things.
And back in.
We'll get this guy. He said he looks like a new guy.
Yes, I'm beyond excited.
Eight 803-404-6100. You can also join us on the Buford Lending live stream. We've broken out into a conversation on what show Patrick should watch next. I was making a case for Stranger Things. Some people have said Ozark, Cobra Kai, also out there. So if you want to jump in on that conversation, go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game. and join us on the Buford Lending live stream. We ask that you subscribe as well.
I no longer have Showtime. I want to watch Yellow Jackets, but I can't do that.
Ooh.
So.
Ross, we got back-to-back, just differing opinions. Ross says hard pass on Stranger Things. Jordan weighs in. Stranger Things is a great show. So we'll continue that next hour and on the Buford Lending live stream. Got about 45 seconds left. Let's get out to the Love Chevy Fun Lines. Glenn wants to weigh in on that Chicago Bears job. Glenn, give Jen some hope on that job being a great one.
Hey, guys, thanks for taking my call. I'm a little confused how the Bear job is 5th or 6th. Okay, let me give you some reasons here. It's the top 2 job. Number 1, the market. You win in Chicago, you're a god. Mike Ditka is still a god in Chicago. Number 2, I realize there's dysfunction in the ownership, but they're going to let you do whatever they want. I mean, Ryan Pace had the ability to trade for Khalil Mack, trade for Justin Fields, trade for Mitch Trubisky. He was able to do whatever he wanted. They've got talent all over the field. If you're going to make the excuse of coaching for Trevor Lawrence, how do you not make the excuse for coaching for Justin Fields? Did you watch a Bears game this year? Matt Nagy is a joke. Justin Fields, David Montgomery, Darnell Mooney, they've got some pieces on the defense. They get the right coach in there. I mean, that division is going to be up for grabs.
Appreciate the phone call, Glenn. A lot of great points. We'll address those. I did say Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. I blamed Trevor Lawrence.
Sounds like he was making the pitch for why it's the best place to be a general manager, though, not a head coach.
Good point. Weigh in with your show. Some of you are popping in on some of these shows here. Alan, anonymous texter Ozark has to be first. We'll talk about it. You can follow us on the Buford Lending live stream as well. It's the early game. 107.5 The Game.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly a Bears fan.
Well, he was, but I also feel like that was a
Passionate national sports talk radio show phone call. Or
and also, I just think it's funny when you start naming players like CNFL. Everybody's good. David Montgomery, Darnell Mooney. All right, well, what do you want me to start naming Broncos?
I just that was
Williams, Tim Patrick.
That made me feel very national right there for him because he was very passionate about his Bears. Like you said, he knew names, and he hit us with you guys clearly. If you're saying what he says, something about Lawrence, and if you're not putting Justin Fields, you guys just haven't seen a Bears game this year.
Well, it's like he didn't necessarily he said. You make the point for Trevor Lawrence. Did you watch the Bears this year? I thought he was going to follow that with Justin Fields is awesome. No, Justin Fields did not play that well. Played fine. You could argue that Justin Fields was as good as or better than Trevor Lawrence. I wouldn't argue either way. I don't think either of them did enough to sell you, but
yeah, going back Stranger, I'm okay on Stranger Things. I've liked Stranger Things, but it's just we're not really getting. Although they did leave us in a really good cliffhanger with what is it, the sheriff or whatever, being locked up in the Russian prison, and all this being behind the prisons. A lot of this being the Russians, and
there's also 2 single season shows on HBO that I want to watch. But I feel like if you missed them in the moment of time in which they came out, it's not worth going back. And that's the White Lotus and the Mayor of Easttown. Heard good things about both of those. And I like the idea of miniseries.
Yeah, I like the miniseries stuff as opposed to multiple seasons.
I also watched Boardwalk Empire when it came out, but lost it halfway through and never finished it. There's part of me that wants to go back and watch that thing from the very beginning again.
Cut. Is Jen still in there? Or did she walk out? I was gonna say we'll cut that sleep number right after the show.
There's 7 NFL coaching positions open right
now.
Yeah. On the podcast page.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you could put honestly those Patrick segment and my segment up, whatever else you want to put up from the beginning of the 8 o'clock hour, where we'll cover everything or whatever and call it a day.
We've got one Like I said, I've got one up, and then I've got this about just NFL coaches. So I got your two takes together. That's about to go up.
All right.
We're the show.
We are. The works. Yeah, Justin Gamecock Larry joined us yesterday, and I think he was more anti-Will Muschamp than he was Georgia, and he really does not like Kirby Smart for some reason. I'm not sure if Kirby Smart kicked his dog or stole his liver pudding or
didn't come to coach the Gamecocks
or something. Yeah, something. But yeah, he was very upset. Yeah, he was off on the. He very upset yesterday.
Trying to figure out if it's worth going to Charlotte this weekend.
It's cold, man.
I've been
It's
out
gonna
of
be
town.
cold. And it's supposed to be icy. I'll be honest. I think it's a good weekend to blanket it up, get on the couch. A lot of good food. Maybe you got the air fryer, don't you?
Yeah.
Chicken wings, maybe a good pizza, some good breakfast.
I've been out of town the last 3 weekends, but got a lot of friends in Charlotte that I haven't seen in a while, and there is wall-to-wall football.
Did you get into what is it, Boba Fett yesterday?
Yeah. No, I didn't watch the new one yet. It comes out on Wednesday, so maybe it came out at midnight. I didn't check, but my dad called me about this yesterday. He's like, because he loves Star Wars, remembers going to see the first one as a kid, has watched everything Star Wars, and it's the only thing that can get him to the movie theaters. But he called me and was like, did you watch Boba Fett? I said, yeah. He said, is it kind of bad? It's like, neither of us wanted to admit that it's bad, but so far, yeah, it hasn't been that good. I'm hoping, DC, that the new one is like a very exciting episode, because I really enjoyed The Mandalorian.
Oh, we'll get into Matthew from Landrum here in an hour.
I do like when we just have completely opposite opinions right next to each other. You read the ones about Stranger Things, and then I mentioned Boardwalk Empire. Then back to back, RL said, "Yeah, it's totally fine not to pick it back up." Jason said, "Definitely finish it." Succession is definitely incredible, Craig. Also, if I could only keep one streaming service, it would be HBO Max. It's the best one out right now.
Final hour of the Wednesday edition, January 12th, as we move closer to NFL playoffs, further away from the 2021 college football season, and further into college basketball season. Last night, South Carolina, a 66-46 loser to Tennessee in Nashville. The Gamecocks were within 6 at halftime, but get outscored 36-22 in the second half as Tennessee moves to 11-4 on the season, 2-2 in SEC play. The Gamecocks dropped to 10-5 on the season, 1-2 in SEC play. They'll have a big one. I mean, they'll have a really big one on Saturday afternoon to kind of continue to try and build momentum or stay afloat, continue to tread water, however you want to analyze it, when Florida comes to town at 1 o'clock.
It's big for the fans, isn't it? Because the apathy will set in quicker for basketball than it would for football if they feel like, yeah, this isn't a tournament team this year.
Yeah,
now, you have a longer, you can accept more losses before you realize, like, hey, we're probably not going to make the tournament this year. But they'll buy themselves out quickly.
Yeah, South Carolina fans have put themselves in a kind of weird position with basketball.
I mean, they're already not showing up to top 10 games.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's you're exactly right, and yeah, it'll be a big one. I don't know what the crowd will be like on Saturday afternoon. Saturday. We're kind of on the Buford Lending live stream. We're discussing television shows and the weather as well. Because off air we were talking about it. You're trying to debate whether to go out of town this weekend. You said you've been out of town the last 3 weekends, and we were kind of talking about the NFL playoffs this weekend, staying in the house. I think somebody suggested some good vegetable soup. Doing just a big foodie weekend.
Did have some loaded potato soup for dinner.
Yeah, so there you go. Just a big and kind of
sounds
staying
really
in front
good.
of the television. Yeah, I think it's what do we say, Jen? I think Hope says it sounds like more of rain and ice than snow now at this point this weekend. Is that
Which
right?
I'd rather have the snow than the ice.
Yeah, I think all of us would. So yeah, but yeah, Patrick, to your point there, South Carolina basketball fans are they're in a weird spot. They're in a kind of an odd spot where they're just not really happy right now. And last night, not really helping the situation. 66-46. The concerning part for me, look, Tennessee's better. I'm not trying to. I don't know if that's an excuse or I don't know what it is, but the bottom line is Tennessee's better. What I did not like last night, what is concerning for the remainder of the season, is when you see Jermaine Cousinard and Keyshawn Bryant, the backbone of your team, combined for just 6 points and 8 turnovers. The 8 turnovers, both players, South Carolina, both players having 4 turnovers apiece last night, both playing just 16 minutes. And again, for Cousinard, it's one thing to have an off shooting night, right? To score 1 point where you're just not good. Eric Stevenson last night was 2 of 10 from the field for 5 points. Didn't shoot the ball well, but he shot the ball. Jermaine Cousinard just 2 shots last night. He has no rhythm with this team offensively right now. He doesn't know what his role is. That's very clear to me, that he's trying to find himself within this basketball team.
Yeah, I mean, where does this end though? I mean, is it he can't find it within the offense that Frank has designed, or it's this group of guys? Because it's a completely new cast this year, and it was supposed to make it easier on him, and it just hasn't. So, does he just run it back again next year? I mean, I don't know what the end game is here. It's clearly not working, and I don't know if it can be salvaged at this point.
It's for Cousinard.
For Cousinard,
yeah.
And Keyshawn Bryant. Does Keyshawn Bryant? I mean, is he just going to go pro at the end of this year and say, "I'll test my luck, and if I end up in Europe, so be it"?
Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen. There is still a lot of basketball to be played. I know that people will say that's an excuse, but you look at the next 4 games, and I think South Carolina needs to go 3-1 in them. South Carolina again sits at 10-5, 1-2 in the SEC, but the next 3 of the next 4 I think are very winnable home games against Florida. Then you do make next Tuesday night 7:00. You make a road trip to Arkansas, but that's followed up by back-to-back road home games against Georgia and then Vanderbilt to close out that 4-game stretch. You need to go 3-1 in that. Maybe that you talk about fans staying in. Fans, I think, would still be invested in the program. You go 3-1 in the next 4. You get to 4-3. You're sitting at 13-6 overall. After that, the following 4 games are just as important because it's a step up in competition, with 2 of those being road games. Texas A&M and Mississippi State, both road games. And then you get the really difficult games, Tennessee and Kentucky. That wraps up Tuesday, February 8th. I feel like after those 8 games, that's where we'll know where we're kind of at here with fans and their opinion and how they're viewing the remainder of February. After that, it's Georgia, Mississippi on the road, home games against LSU and Mississippi State. So, look, it doesn't stop. And you, to your point, you mentioned, I watched it last night. It was a fun game to watch, a high-level college basketball game last night featuring Alabama and Auburn. 9:00 was the tip time. Auburn up to number 4 in the college polls there and looking very athletic. Jabari Smith was a lot of fun last night in that ball game, and Auburn finds a way to get it done. Right now, if you're South Carolina, I know people want to complain, and I get it. I will say the 2 games you've lost in SEC play, there's no shame in losing those games.
Yeah.
You want to talk about how they lost, totally different story, but you've lost to 2 top 20, top 25 teams. Tennessee now just on the outside of the top 20. At number 22, Auburn is number 4 and is projected right now as a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
But those were your opportunities to pick up big wins.
And there's going to be more.
There will be more.
There's going to be plenty more. You do have to get them. Last night, Jabari Smith, by the way, 25 points, 8 of 14 shooting. Auburn, number 4 in the country, knocks off Alabama He's number 24, 81-77. So we've been talking a little bit about that. Also weighing in on a lot of NFL this morning. Patrick and I, 7 NFL coaching jobs open currently. Number 7 came open last night, I guess around 7 o'clock. Joe Judge let go by the New York Giants. Patrick and I are in full agreement. The New York Giants head basketball coach or head football coaching job is the worst in the NFL right now. Particular reasons? Just roster?
They don't have a ton of money. They have people overpaid. I mean, the Giants have 1, 2, 3, 4. They have the 5th least cap space in the NFL, and their roster is not good. They're probably going to draft offensive linemen again this year. They're overpaying all over the place. Case in point is they splurged for Kenny Golladay, the top free agent wide receiver last year, and he had 0 touchdowns this year. So you can't pay top 5 receiver salaries to guys that don't catch touchdowns. That's just not good business. So, yeah, they've not spent their money wisely. They are committed to Daniel Jones for no particular reason. There was no reason to announce that they were committing to Daniel Jones for 2022, just like there was no reason for them to have said 2 weeks ago that they were committing to Joe Judge for 2022, because all he did the next week was QB sneak it twice in a row on 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 9, called the Washington football team clowns when he's running the biggest clown show in the NFL, and pretty much embarrassed himself time after time. So, yeah, that era is over, but the Giants have been the worst franchise in the NFL for the last 3 years.
And they certainly, that job open, we'll see where they go with that. Patrick and I ranked our top 4 NFL jobs in order of what's available now with roster, I threw in a lot of the division with what you have financially, and also how quickly you could get back to either being a playoff team or a Super Bowl contender. Patrick went Denver at 1, Jacksonville at 2, Miami at 3, and the Raiders at 4. And you had Chicago. Our previous caller to end the last hour, Glenn, was weighing in. I think Glenn was a Bears fan. That's no problem.
So.
It made me feel more like a little bit of a national show there with Glenn's phone call, so I appreciated his contribution. But you've got the Bears further down the list, because I had Minnesota at 1, Denver 2, Jacksonville 3, and I put Chicago 4. And Chicago and Jacksonville to me can be interchangeable, but I did go with Jacksonville at 3 there. I think you're going to get a little bit more time with Jacksonville after the Urban Meyer disaster than you would with Chicago. But I've got Minnesota, Denver, Jacksonville, Chicago. You had Chicago further down the list, and you can respond now to Glenn, who was pointing out a lot of things about why the Chicago job is one of the top 2 jobs in the league right now.
I mean, I hinted at it at the end of the last hour, but the Bears, the team that the coach to be inherits, is not the same team that's made playoff runs the last couple years. They're going to lose a lot. Khalil Mack's getting older. He's making $20 million a year, so that's not going to last forever. Akeem Hicks, maybe the most important player on that defense, is a free agent this year. On offense, yeah, he mentioned Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's awesome, but Allen Robinson's going to be a free agent. He mentioned David Montgomery. I mean, David Montgomery was hurt this year. He's a running back. He can't do everything by himself, and they're losing both their tackles. Both their tackles are free agents. Jason Peters is already 40 years old anyway, but played well this year because they let Charles Leno go, who actually just got an extension in Washington. He'll be a free agent. Jermaine Ifedi is going to be a free agent. James Daniels, their starting guard, is going to be a free agent. They're going to lose a lot. Let me check their salary cap space real quick, but I don't think they have a whole heck of a lot. I believe they're kind of right there in the middle. Yeah, they are about $27 million of effective cap space, and they're going to probably need to use most of that to retain their own guys. So I don't think they're in a bad position overall. Like, I think any head coaching candidate should take an interview with Chicago, should be interested in it. That's a very historic organization. But when you look at the ownership and you listen to the comments that George McCaskey made the last couple days, there's not. You're basically putting all your chips in on Justin Fields. The only type of coach that I can see really thinking that this should be the job that they prioritize or would be the best job available is an offensive guru type coach that looks at Justin Fields and says, yeah, I need the running quarterback threat in my offense. He's the perfect piece for what I want to do offensively. I'm not worried about the rest of the roster right now. I'm building my team around Justin Fields. So I can see that being the case because I think Justin Fields has a lot to like. I loved him as a prospect. I thought that Washington should have traded up and tried to draft him. I thought Denver shouldn't have passed on him. I thought the Panthers shouldn't have passed on him. So I'm bought in on Justin Fields. I think he's going to be really good. But the rest of the situation, I just don't think it's as good as Jacksonville, for example.
One of the reasons that I liked both the Vikings and the Bears in my top 4 jobs is the particular division. Matthew and Landrum, who I'm going to guess is a Green Bay fan, one of the reasons, again, I like the Minnesota and Chicago jobs is because if you are under the assumption or the belief that most people were, I think with the exception of Matthew, at the beginning of the year, that this was it for Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, that this was his so-called last dance, that he'd had enough of the organization, then it opens up that organization. Jordan Love has been awful this year. That might cause the Packer organization to rethink their stance. Matthew from Landrum weighs in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. He says, why would Rodgers leave? The Packers are a great organization. They listened to his wants and needs and brought Randall Cobb back, had his back on the whole COVID situation, and they are Super Bowl contenders every year for the past 3 years. So they are keeping talent there with a great coach and Matt LaFleur. People that think he's leaving are just people that want to see him, the people that just want to see him Green Bay. It's not real. Last sentence there. I think.
I guess see him leave Green Bay.
Gotcha. I mean, Matthew. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was basically saying he was leaving. This isn't like he basically back during the summer is talked about his disdain for the organization, how he didn't like the Jordan Love draft pick. Where was it? He saw the draft pick and fixed 3 fingers of tequila. Was that right? Was it 3 fingers?
What he said. Yeah. I feel like we need to break that down almost line by line. I mean, there's a lot that I agree with it. The Packers are a great organization. Agreed. They listen to his wants and needs. Agreed. But only after he felt like they stabbed him in the back and they were desperately trying to keep him. He had to hold out, not come to OTAs, and they were doing anything they could to just get him back in the building. So, yeah, they went out on a limb and signed Randall Cobb because it's one of Aaron Rodgers' best friends. They've been more than Super Bowl contenders for the last 3 years. They've basically been Super Bowl contenders since the mid-90s because they went right from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers has been a contender. He's only won one, but he's been a contender every single year that he's been the starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. So, yeah, and Matt LaFleur's a great coach, and they have a great relationship, but people that think he's leaving aren't just people that want to see Green Bay fail, and it's not even a long shot to think that he's going to come back. I won't be surprised if he does. For a couple reasons, he likes LaFleur. They've been successful. Devontae Adams is going to get tagged. They're not going to let him leave anyway because Devontae Adams said straight up, yeah, Aaron Rodgers' decision is definitely going to influence my decision. He doesn't want to stay in Green Bay if Aaron Rodgers isn't there. It's not an attractive place for young people to live. I mean, it's an attractive organization and everything like that, but it's cold and there's not a lot to do. It's pretty simple. People don't want to live in Green Bay year round. That's why no one really buys their houses there.
I will wonder, Rodgers just turned 38, and he doesn't strike me as a Tom Brady, I'm going to play until I physically can't play anymore. Like it feels like
I don't think it's because of just the love of football though. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to play for a little while though, because I think he's into all that like alternative medicine and like he said he's like feeling young again and doing all this hippie stuff. And I think he's feeling like his best, I think that he thinks he's feeling like his best self and feels like he's in his mid-20s again and can do this thing forever.
We'll see with that. So NFL talk this weekend should be, again, as we go completely away from college football for the first time since mid-August, your NFL schedule this weekend, playoffs, all NFL playoffs this weekend, and should be pretty entertaining. Saturday afternoon, Las Vegas at Cincinnati. It's a 31-year streak, 32 years. I think it's a 31-year streak for Cincinnati without a playoff win. They will, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati will get a chance to break that against Las Vegas, 4:30 on Saturday. The game that I'm most excited about because it's going to feature awful weather. It's going to be cold, and it's actually two really, really good teams. I think it's the best game of the weekend. New England at Buffalo, 8:15 on Saturday night. I know my good buddy Jeff Berge, who's a huge Buffalo fan, has probably already painted his face up on Wednesday. He's probably got blue and red. He's probably already wearing his Josh Allen jersey around, probably all fired up for that. But New England at Buffalo, 8:15. Again, the high up there for Buffalo for the day, not at night, for the day, is 20 degrees. So I would imagine when they get around to playing at 8:15, the high for the day will have dropped significantly, and they're calling for snow as well.
When's it supposed to start snowing here? Is it Saturday night
I think
or
we're
is
supposed
Sunday
to
in
get,
the afternoon?
Second in command meteorologist, Jen, what have we got?
What I was seeing was like really late at night on Saturday and into Sunday.
See?
But, that just kind of keeps shifting.
How cool would that be if we're watching a sub-zero temperatures in Buffalo for a
Oh.
playoff matchup, and then you look outside and it's snowing here in little old Columbia, South Carolina? Wouldn't that be a good time?
Yeah, and who knows? It could end up being nice, just kind of depends on the system.
Yeah. So it's we'll
That'll be
see. But yeah,
fun.
that's the Saturday night game. Gives you something to check into and watch. New England at Buffalo. Sunday afternoon, you start with Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. That's 1:00. Then San Francisco at Dallas. In terms of just brand name teams and history, that obviously is a fantastic game. Deebo Samuel has been fantastic this year. Second in yards after the catch, only behind Cooper Kupp, I believe. Is it Cooper? Yeah, it's Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Cooper.
For the Rams there, and I saw that he has done that on half of the receptions that Kupp has done.
Yeah, his yards per reception, his yards per touch, because I saw an advanced stat about his rushing yards per attempt too. His yards per touch are ridiculous. And he is getting the national recognition now, which is very cool to see. Everyone's agreeing that he's one of the most fun to watch players and probably one of the top 5 to 10 just weapons in football right now.
So Deebo Samuel and San Francisco traveling to Dallas, 4:30 on Sunday, and then your Sunday night playoff game, Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger, we all assume, making his last stand there. Matter of fact, we got John from Orangeburg on the text line, wants to get your opinion very quickly. Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers?
Yeah, my very quick opinion would be I don't think there's a shot that happens. He's a West Coast guy. He's been living in Green Bay. He's married to an actress. I'm pretty sure he wants to get back to the West Coast some way, somehow. I think that he's going to end up in Denver. Either he's going to stay in Green Bay because they're going to meet him on all of his demands and say, we're really sorry for drafting Jordan Love. We didn't mean to upset you. Please stay. Or he's going to go to Denver because they're ready-made for a championship and it's close to the West Coast.
So there you go. So that's your Sunday night game, Pittsburgh at Kansas City. And then first time ever, we will have a Monday night playoff game. I guess a wild card matchup, Arizona at Los Angeles. I got to admit, I like, Arizona, Kyler Murray's kind of fun to watch. The Rams are entertaining, Matthew Stafford and everything. That one actually might be the least appealing game of the weekend.
Because we've seen it twice already, too.
Yeah.
Division matchups in the playoffs never excite me all that much.
I mean, San Francisco, Dallas is just a traditional rivalry. That's going to be a lot of fun. That really piques your interest.
That's just going to throw people older than me back to
Dwight Clark
in
and
which I wasn't watching football.
Joe Montana, and everything there about that game will be fun. Sunday afternoon, New England, Buffalo. The weather will be entertaining. I think you're kind of entertained to see if Cincinnati can finally win a playoff game. Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts, Tampa Bay and Tom Brady.
I do wonder who America's cheering for in that game, the Bengals game. Because the Raiders right now under Rich Bisaccia, I think people want to see them keep winning because they've fought through so much adversity already. But in general, the Raiders aren't really a liked team. And I think the Bengals are kind of the NFL sweetheart right now.
I think so. Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow's approval rating is about 100% at this point. The only people that don't like him are AFC North fans. And Jamar Chase is just unbelievable. And T. Higgins is not being talked about. T. Higgins is awesome now.
There is your rundown for the weekend. We'll continue on with that, get back into a little bit of basketball talk as well, and some transfer portal news, not related to South Carolina or Clemson yesterday, but more with Alabama and Georgia and how that impacts maybe college football across the board. So we got plenty to get into. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. That's how you can join myself, Patrick Perret, or Jen Jenson this morning. You can also go on the Buford Lending live stream. As always, you can go to youtube.com and search 1075 The Game and subscribe. You can weigh in. Conversation right now between Hope, my buddy Mr. Burns, Larry, Jordan, all weighing in on basketball topics. We've gotten into some discussion there on what television show Patrick needs to get into. So a lot going on the Buford Lending live stream. You can go and join in. It's your own little chat room where you can talk to everybody while the show's going on. Again, just go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and you can click subscribe and watch our show right there. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game. '22 officially upon us. It is January 12th. The thing is, Now you've got to start getting ready for like Super Bowl parties and St. Patrick's Day parties, and probably should have a clean house for Valentine's Day. The significant other usually likes that. The way to do that, call Zero Res, 803-262-4020. You can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. If you call Zero Res right now, how about this? 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119. Get those carpets looking nice. The upholstery, the rugs, the tile. Zero Res covers it all with their patented ZR water technology, scientifically proven to keep your house looking fresh, clean, and beautiful. Give them a phone call today and book an appointment. $119 for 3 rooms, 803-262-4020. And if you can mention my name, that's all you got to remember. Bill Gunter at 107.5 The Game. You don't even have to like me. You just got to say my name, Bill Gunter at 107.5 The Game. You can get your hallway cleaned for free. Just $119 for 3 rooms of carpet clean, plus a free hallway when you say Bill Gunter at 107.5 The Game. You can even say, I don't even like that guy, but Bill Gunter at 107.5 The Game. And Zero Res will get your hallway cleaned for free. ZR water technology, freshening up the tile, the upholstery, everything about your house. Rugs, ZR water, scientifically proven with Zero Res to make your house look beautiful. 803-262-4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, is the right way to clean.
All right. I'm going back to the TV conversations. All right. So Sonny, yes. Kind of a snooze fest through 2 episodes.
Of what?
Boba Fett.
Oh, Bubba.
Go back to that. I mentioned this. Yeah, Succession is outstanding. It ended on a brutal cliffhanger in episode 9 of the season, which really upset me because I thought there was going to be an episode 10. Then I found out it was the finale. So screw that. Don't do 9 episode seasons. Jim, Billions is I desperately want to watch actually, but I don't have Showtime anymore. So I might have to go ahead and just add that onto my Amazon Prime subscription. I might bite the bullet and buy Showtime since I'm canceling my movie membership. And yes, Sonny, I'm so in on House of the Dragon.
When does that come out?
This year, I don't know what month. Just says 2022. Sometime in 2022. I guess it doesn't have a date yet. I assume it's going to be in the summer. That's usually when they do it.
I can see that. August. FedEx has sent me a package, and I don't know what I ordered over the weekend. But it's scheduled to be delivered today, so apparently I'm going to get a nice surprise. I'm not sure what I ordered from FedEx or what's being FedEx to me. Rams to the Super Bowl. No, Jim, we're not doing away with Facebook. I don't know if you can subscribe on Facebook. We just always mention the YouTube page because there's monetary potential there.
Incentive, yeah.
Yeah, incentive. So, but no, we're not doing away with Facebook.
The Facebook ultimately doesn't do anything for us. There's more to do on YouTube, not just monetarily, but there's different types of interactions and things we can do on YouTube. Like we can do poll questions on YouTube eventually, and there's more. Yeah, there's more growth opportunity with the YouTube.
Yeah, we aren't getting away from Facebook.
I don't know. Maybe there will be a time where we say, "Hey, join the YouTube or get out of town." And then we'll force you to come to the YouTube.
It's true. Yeah, we could do that.
We're going to get you addicted to the live stream and then just pull the plug on Facebook.
Hope I looked. We were at 964 this morning. Probably still at 964. Yeah. Oh, good. This is now starting to help me remember what I wear every day. I didn't realize I could do that. It's lovely.
Freaking Evgeny Malkin.
Or
First
the
game of the
sweater
year,
a week
2
ago.
goals. Did you see, this is not live stream appropriate, but did you see Kodak Black at the Florida Panthers game last night?
Nah. I had the Florida Panthers in a parlay, but I have no clue what.
Probably just Twitter search Kodak
Well,
Black.
it's on my. I just saw it. I mean, it's trending. I just happened to see that his name. That's really the only reason I didn't say whom or what. But I saw it was trending.
Just click on the trend.
Yeah. Okay. Well, alrighty then.
You don't see that every day.
So like this one says he's been added to the NHL protocol list.
Eight 803-404-6100. That is that's how you can join us this morning. You need to go to the live stream. I'm not even going to bring up there's a
we're not even going to bring up Kodak Black.
There's
but
well,
you can look it up for yourself.
Trending on Twitter. Let's just leave it at that. That's something. 803-404-6100. You can also go to youtube.com and search for the 107.5 The Game live stream. You can join us there, weigh in. RL, Hope, Jim, Larry, all getting in. RL just says, "Oh my goodness!" We're not going to tell you why, or you may not even want to go search that, but that's out there. As Patrick pointed out, a lot of NFL talk this morning, but Patrick, also college football discussion as we remove ourselves from the college football national championship game, and you really get into the transfer portal. South Carolina obviously picked up a couple commitments on over the weekend and then through Monday with the transfer portal. But I think it's interesting, and I think we're continuing to learn how the transfer portal is going to impact college football moving forward. And to see Alabama, and we talked about it, Jalil Billingsley, and you're right, never seemed to vibe with Nick Saban. But to see Alabama lose some players now, and it's not that they lost like mega players here. It's not like Jamison Williams, who's going to go off to the NFL, and unfortunately, we'll see what happens with him now with his ACL injury. But it's not like they're losing the next up and coming stud. But you see the small trend now of players going, okay, I'm going to get out of here. It does open the door for some. I think it opens the door for some parity in college football.
Yeah, I mean it does. I don't know how I don't know if it's going to affect how much it's really going to affect recruiting either. Like, are guys just going to say, all right, well, I'm just going to commit to the best school, see if I can start there right away. And if not, I'll just bounce and my stock will be high because I came from Alabama. Like, I assume all these Alabama guys are going to end up going to big time schools, right? Like, if you're transferring from Bama, you probably don't need to downgrade to the FCS. Maybe the quarterback because he was just a legacy guy anyway. But, I mean, Drew Sanders, Jalil Billingsley, most of these guys are going to be playing Power 5 football still, right?
I would assume. I would think that players are going to be, when you see, and again, Amir Speed, the name that stuck out from Georgia's, they lost 2 players yesterday. Amir Speed, the defensive back who started 3 games for them and was highly thought of in the recruiting industry. as when he was coming out. I'm going to assume that they're going to have plenty of options. I mean, we already saw. Is it Eli Ricks, the LSU defensive back? But of course, he's going to Alabama. That's the other part. You get Alabama like kind of bringing in a few other stud players here, and then that's followed up by other elite players transferring out. I'm looking. Drew Sanders, for those wondering, is originally from Denton, Texas. He was the number 22 overall player in the country. He's listed as the number 1 athlete.
And started last year, I think. And then To'o came in, I think, and bumped him out. And Dallas Turner came in and was a superstar from day one. And then Will Anderson plays kind of multiple positions. But Drew Sanders and Christian Harris, also the other linebacker for Alabama. But 2 of those guys are going pro. So you would have thought that Drew Sanders kind of would have gotten his job back next year. But I don't know if he was just thinking, screw this. Alabama brings in monsters every single year, and I don't want to lose my spot.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is when we talk a guy like Drew Sanders, Jalil Billingsley. Also, I think you do wonder Jalil Billingsley. Like again, I think there was more to it than just okay, he's wanting out, as he kind of got surpassed in the middle of the season and didn't quite have the season that maybe he was expecting. But when you do see a guy like Drew Sanders, who again was a top 25 prospect in the 2020 class there, so that was Alabama. Finished that year number 2 overall, number 2 in the SEC. And Sanders, again, was the 4th highest rated recruit. The reason we bring up parity, he goes to a school like Texas. Let's say he goes home. That improves Texas, who, look, is 5-7 and lost to Kansas this year. Does he go somewhere else? Is there somewhere else that he goes where he improves? Or does he say go to a Texas A&M, who's already got this tremendous recruiting class? I think that's where it starts to get kind of interesting when you talk about these kids electing to transfer out of these big schools, because I don't know if you can just stockpile talent in the manner that they have over the last several years.
Yeah, and what we have seen is it certainly can, in terms of parity, it can even the playing field quickly. Like, you can turn a program around very quick, much quicker with transfers than you can with a good recruiting class. Michigan State, I don't know how they brought in like a dozen transfers, and that's why people were so excited for what Mel Tucker was doing, how he embraced the transfer portal. Obviously, the marquee name of that bunch was Kenneth Walker, who was maybe the best running back in the country this year. But you've seen teams turn around quickly. And I mean, you mentioned Texas. If a Drew Sanders goes to Texas, and then they've got Quinn Ewers, they bring back Bijan Robinson and a couple of wide receivers, and all of a sudden Texas is, doing a full 180, and they can be a 8-win team next year or competing for the Big 12, just like that in one offseason because of transfers. You can turn things around so much quicker when you're getting a proven commodity versus, okay, we brought in a good recruiting class, but we're still going to need to get lucky and have 3 or 4 of these high 3-star, 4-star guys end up being hits.
Another player, King, and I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. You want to take a guess on this? Mwikuta? Mwikuta. But I'll let you look that up, and then we'll see if you can give that a shot. Again, you're talking about this player, this other defensive end / outside linebacker, 6'5", 240 pounds, out of LaGrange, Georgia. He was the number 158 player overall in the class of 2019. I mean, again, this is not just, all right, some guy who's way down the depth chart, or I shouldn't say way down the depth chart, but was way down the recruiting rankings. This is another mid 4-star, almost high, almost a 5-star prospect, again, who couldn't crack the depth chart there at Alabama. Again, number 158th overall player. He was the number 9 weak side defensive end overall in the class of 2019, held a rating of 93.3 from 24/7 Sports, and he's going to transfer out. So here you got 2 guys who most schools, if you landed a player like a Drew Sanders, that'd probably be your top recruit in the class. You land a player like this defensive end, King. You want to take a shot?
Mwikuta?
Okay, we'll go with that. It's a lot better than what I said. But you land a player like that, and you go and get that. He's as good as a lot of recruits that you could potentially go and land out of the high school.
Yeah, it is funny because when I got the notifications on my phone, I got them from 2 or 3 different apps that I get notifications from, and all of them said Jalil Billingsley and Drew Sanders, and like 5 are among 7 Alabama players transferring. So it didn't even mention the other guys, and you had to click into the articles to find out who they were. And then when you click in, you realize, oh, so this guy would have been the best player in like South Carolina's class.
Right.
Like that's just how good Alabama is. I think it's funny that they didn't even mention that. And the third person mentioned was the quarterback that nobody's ever heard of, but he's Bear Bryant's great grandson or something.
Yeah, that I don't think he was I didn't see him on any of the very highly thought of like recruiting list. That's why I kind of didn't mention him. But I mean, Billingsley has proven it at the college level. Drew Sanders was a top 25 national recruit in 2020. King Makuta is a top 200 prospect in the 2019 class.
This lineman, Tommy Brown, is a mammoth of a human being. I'm looking him up right now, see what he was rated.
So you've got these, and that's where I do
4-star, of
wonder.
course.
We talk about with name, image, likeness, and look with Alabama, you've seen them bring in Jamison Williams, you see them bring in Henry Tuatua. It's not like Alabama is trading out, okay players and great players are leaving. Alabama is certainly continuing to land elite players, but the question I pose, 803-404-6100, does it help create a little bit of parity when you start to see? Because I don't think this is just a one-time thing. I think you start to see a little, I shouldn't say a crack in the foundation because Alabama's not going anywhere, but you start to see some really good players transfer out because, not everybody wants to sit and wait their turn and then play a year or two and then go to the NFL.
No, and this kid, Tommy Brown, number 132 overall prospect, number 4 offensive guard as a recruit. He's a tackle now. He's 6'7", 310 from modern day. Like if you landed this kid, you'd be over the moon.
Right.
Like this kid's gonna come and start right away. He's probably gonna go back and start at Southern Cal next year.
He could go to I mean, you say Southern Cal, maybe go to Stanford. This is where, Stanford, obviously, you could improve your team. California, if you went back out west.
Yeah.
You look at a school like Washington. You look at Dan Lanning going to Oregon if you try to improve your team. I think that's where I go with this. And again, I don't think this is just a one-time thing with
it'll be a
Alabama
forever
and
thing.
Georgia. You're going to have players, and it's almost like, all right, do I want to wait and see what players transfer out of Alabama? Can we get involved? Do I want to save spots for high school prospects? A lot there to consider moving forward.
I wonder how it's going to change the pitch too. Like Nick Saban seems like the kind of guy that'll sit in someone's living room and be like, "You're not going to probably start right away. Be prepared for that right now because I don't want to waste my time right now and then have you transfer next year because you didn't play." Like you're gonna have to have honest conversations. You're not going to be able to sell kids a bill of goods. Like, hey, we need you right away. You're going to contribute from the jump, and you're gonna have to tell them honestly, like, don't be discouraged when you don't start right away. You're gonna have to wait. We have 5 stars everywhere. We're the best team in the country. Don't transfer. Like, don't or just guys are gonna put less effort into recruiting because they can just.
Oh.
I mean, you save yourself some travel to go sit in high schoolers' living rooms and then just call up the college players because you've seen what they can do. Like I don't know. It's going to change a lot. If I were a coach, I would not be wasting as much time in a living room with recruits because it's got to be really deflating to go through all the effort, land a kid, be excited about it, then 12 months later, before you've even gotten to develop him, he's gone.
Well, I think, and this has been part of the conversation that you've seen more and more, and I can't remember who it was, and it might have been Dabo Sweeney that I saw say this, but he was a college coach early in the year that mentioned if you're a Jeff Scott at South Florida, you might now just go to making your living off of the transfer portal. Yeah, you sign a couple high school kids here and there, but let's be honest, it's South Florida, a non-Power 5 school, and South Florida's a good program. South Florida's got some history there. They've had some really good years, but with South Florida, you go and you land a good player who blows up after a year or two. Is he going to stick around in Tampa and play for South Florida? Or is he going to try and transfer to Florida or Florida State or Miami or somewhere else? Whereas on the flip side of that, if you're Jeff Scott, now you see what comes out of Clemson. I know he went and got a Zhu. I think he got Michael Dukes as well, the running back from South Carolina from the state of South Carolina that went to Clemson. And I believe Michael Dukes also has transferred to South Florida. Like, if you're a South Florida, if you're in East Carolina, throw Charlotte in the mix, even though they're a little bit further down the totem pole. Are you focusing more and more and more of your efforts into what you just said, waiting on the transfer portal because you recruit this player that gets overlooked? You go and you recruit this player that gets overlooked, and he blows up, and then he says, "You know what? That's it. I'm wanting to transfer up to a bigger program."
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be smarter for most of these teams. Like I was didn't UCF just land somebody? Central Florida. What did they want? They want to be called UCF. They don't like Central
UCF.
Florida.
Yes, UCF.
I thought. John Reese Plumlee is going to Central Florida or UCF.
Okay.
So I just think it'd be easier to start doing that and just say, hey, let's just focus on the Power 5 retreads, the guys that weren't starting there, and because that's what it's always going to be. Guys that go to UCF probably dreamed of playing for Florida or Florida State. Guys that are at Even guys that are at like Texas Tech probably dreamed of playing for Texas or Texas A&M, but they didn't get the offers. And they're always going to want to play at the bigger school. And you can't blame the kid for that. Like, the system's set up that way. But if you're a stud at Central Florida and you think, okay, well, I can be starting in the Swamp, how much cooler would that be than playing in this stadium right here? Like, you can't blame a kid for wanting to go experience that and do that. And it'll help his stock too, because if you ball out in the SEC, you're a first round pick. If you ball out at UCF or UCF or any of these other directional schools, you're going to be a third round pick. Like, you have to be that much better.
I don't know. You've pointed out, we just saw Travis Hunter go to Jackson State, and Kevin.
But Travis Hunter, maybe he can be a first round pick, but he's not going to be like Derek Stingley will be a top 5 pick because Derek Stingley was the best corner in the country as a freshman.
But I think, it's been proven. South Carolina State's shown it. The NFL will find your talent.
They'll find you. But if Darius Leonard was playing as well as he was at Clemson, his dream school, he's a first round pick easy.
What I think is look, say, Jackson State's a neat opportunity. South Carolina State's always got a great little atmosphere. But let's be honest, going to South Carolina and running out to 2001, going to Clemson and running down the hill, going to Georgia and going to these bigger schools, the atmosphere, playing in front of 80,000 or 70,000, whatever it may be, doing that, there is a different atmosphere there with college football and how it kind of plays out in turn. That's what Travis Hunter, kudos to him for going to Jackson State. I have no problem with it. What I do wonder is you get that opportunity to go to Florida State and play in the big games. I think Florida State, LSU play to start this coming season. But that's going to be a fun environment. It's going to be a great game. I think they're playing in Orlando this year and New Orleans next year. Those are big time games, great environments. And so
that's why I won't be surprised at all if he plays 2 years at Jackson State, establishes himself, and then is like, okay, one more year, I'm going to go play at Florida State, show you that I can dominate at this level, and then I'll be a top 10 pick. That's my plan.
803-404-6100. We'll come back and wrap up the Wednesday episode of the early game. It's Bill Gunter, Patrick Perret, and Jen Jenson on 107.5 The Game. Feel like I'm one of the characters from Game of Thrones. I've been telling you for weeks, months, I guess, the cold weather is coming. It's here. It's officially here. It's cold. I hope you have taken the advice and called AAA Heating and Air, and that you feel comfortable now every night you go to bed that your heating unit will continue to work through the night, that you've gotten AAA Heating and Air out to your house for an inspection, just $59, and that you now know your heating and air unit is working perfectly fine, and you're not going to go to bed at 9 o'clock only to wake up at 3 a.m., find out your heating and air unit is out, and your house is now around 60, 58, 56 degrees, and nobody is happy with you. If you have not called, good news. AAA Heating and Air is still there to help you. You just need to give them a phone call this morning, 803-677-1500. Call Roy and Dana Finley. Get the family that is AAA Heating and Air. Get them out to your house for that $59 inspection. If there's an issue, if you've got to replace your heating and air unit, don't worry. I know that it sounds like a big cost, but AAA Heating and Air works with their family members, and that's what you are. You're not just a customer. You are a family member. They offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then they work with you. No money down, 0% financing for a brand new unit. And the best part, a 15-year parts and labor warranty is what AAA Heating and Air does for their family members. And again, you're not a customer for AAA Heating and Air. You are a family member. Give AAA Heating and Air a call today, 803-677-1500. Tell them you heard it with Bill Gunter on 107.5 The Game.
Oh, and 21. Larry, you got to move into that was 20 years ago, buddy. You got to get you into the 2020s. Might be time to let that one go. you're holding on to 0-21, you better be holding tightly to a Final Four run. You better still be bragging about that. All right, so did you come up with a show? Did you figure out a show there?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be Ozark.
Ozark. I got into Ozark for a season, and I don't know. I've gotten into that bad sport. I watched that documentary the other night. That was actually really fascinating on the Arizona State point shaving scandal.
Mm-hmm.
That actually was
That's
like,
interesting.
yeah, they didn't have the campus bookie on there. I kind of would have liked to heard his perspective. Ooh, Ferguson, North Carolina. Yeah, I know somebody's going to Beach Mountain. I think it was this weekend. I hadn't looked at the weather report. I looked a little bit yesterday. the responses to some of this Kodak Black. This guy said, my dream job is the NHL employee who was tasked with calling Gary Bettman to explain the Kodak Black incident. He had to know that was going to trend.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you make a good point, Carlton. South Carolina State's a great program, but how much did Isaiah Simmons make on his rookie contract versus Darius Leonard?
Snow on Sunday. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're still expecting ice here in Columbia. It's going to be one of those weekends.
I know, Carlton. That's not the argument. He's fantastic. He's one of the best linebackers in the league. The point was he was underdrafted because of where he went to school. You're proving my point.
I was trying to read about this 8-foot great white shark that was caught off the Georgia coast off of Tybee Island.
What? That's terrifying.
Great white combat veteran catches great white shark off.
Can you just catch a great white?
$803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning as we wrap up the program. I think I just terrified Patrick, who was not necessarily going to the beach this weekend because it's going to be cold. We're expecting some ice, some rain, maybe some snow. But this news story on WIS: combat veteran catches great white shark off of the Georgia coast
on purpose.
Well, it says basically that he I don't think it doesn't sound like it sounds like he was trying to do recreational fishing, but he found out that he had hooked himself an 8-foot-long, nearly 500-pound great white shark. Now, I don't know if those measurements are correct. Like, I don't know how
How'd you
much an
reel
8.
that puppy in?
Yeah, that's why. But apparently this has terrified Patrick here in the last 35 seconds
Yeah,
here.
sharks are really scary. That's why I don't like the ocean, just in general.
So, yeah, you can check that out on WIS News. Apparently, an 8-foot, 500-pound shark caught off the coast, just off of Tybee Island down in Georgia. So, not going in the water anytime soon, but it's going to be cold. But you can stay inside and catch some great NFL playoffs this weekend. Thanks for everybody joining us on the Buford Lending live stream and for weighing in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. We've got plenty we'll get to throughout the week. Tomorrow, Brian Edwards from Vegas Insiders will continue to get you ready for the NFL playoff weekend. Trying to catch up with Perry Orth, too, to get his take on the college football national championship game. And Patrick, NFL coaching positions. Maybe tomorrow we'll have an 8th one to add to the list.
Well, I don't want to cheer for someone to get fired, but for content's sake, I hope somebody gets fired today.
There we go. All right. That's our attitude.
They'll be okay.
You've been listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
All right, Carlton, I don't like that you're making me do work here to prove a point that's pretty clear. But Darius Leonard, his rookie year, took home $3.8 million. Isaiah Simmons took home 13. So unless his rookie of the year bonus was $10 million, Isaiah Simmons still made more money.
Isaiah, y'all were comparing Isaiah.
I was just saying Darius Leonard's dream school was Clemson. If he got the offer to Clemson and destroyed competition in the ACC, he clearly would have been a first-round pick.
Probably so. I don't think that's debatable.
All right, everybody.
Have a lovely day. We will see you tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow. I'll report back on Ozark.